Trading Between a Different World and Earth, Volume 1 Chapter 1. This will also be my new work, and this will be updated as I want, or at least once a week. I think it's just a self-indulgent, light story, so you can just read it without any hard feelings, but well, I hope you can enjoy it. TL. Alt. Chapter 1, Visit to a Different World. A pile of gold coins was roughly pushed onto the counter. The dazzling gold glittered in the light. It was said that just one of these coins was worth nearly 1 million yen. No way. This much for just a bag of sugar. His eyes widened at the sight of the large amount of money. The gold coins on top of the pile slid down, making a clear clinking sound. Please accept this. What could he do with so much money? He could buy almost anything he wanted and even go on a spending spree. It is said that greed for money is a basic thing. However, most people's eyes light up when a large sum of money falls into their laps. This is even more true when it is something as shiny as gold. If the source of this money is white sugar bought from Japan that has turned into gold, then greed will grow. He can earn more and more. He can spend more and more. A young man who can travel between different worlds by chance. This is the first step in his journey to build a huge fortune in the other world and on Earth and make a great contribution to the world. There was a man walking slowly through the streets of Osaka at dusk. He was 20 years old. He had a listless, hunched posture and a tired look on his face. He had a plain, average face, was of medium height and build, and was carrying a supermarket bag in one hand and a backpack on his back. Man, living alone is hard. I don't earn enough to get married, and I don't even have a regular job. I wonder what will happen to me from now on. He has no money and no future. He is jealous of the couples walking down the street. The term freelance writer sounds good, but in reality, he is a self-employed person with no fixed income. He is not well known, and there are many other writers out there with better writing skills than he has. Unless he seizes a great opportunity in the future, it seems unlikely that he will be able to succeed. He should be able to live doing only the things he wants to do, but before he knows it, he's doing only the things he doesn't want to do. On top of that, the world is full of gloomy news about tax increases and war. With no hope for a bright future, Wataru is depressed. After work, he bought the ingredients for dinner for his tired body and finally arrived home. It was then that a statue of Jizo caught his eye. T/N, Jizo, also affectionately called Ojizo-san or Ojizo-sama, is the patron deity of children and travelers. They can be found all over Japan in Buddhist temples, cemeteries, roadsides in the countryside, and sometimes hidden on the corners of some streets. The old Jizo statue was dirty and covered in moss. There were bags of sweets and empty cans thrown around it, and Wataru frowned in disgust. A Jizo statue in a place like this. It's in a terrible state. Loved by his grandparents, Wataru felt a close bond with the Jizo statue. Not only did he receive sweets on Children's Day, but he had often seen his grandparents burning incense and cleaning the statue before praying to it. Apparently, Wataru was frail when he was young, and his grandparents hoped that he would grow up healthy. They still live in the same prefecture, and Wataru has absorbed his grandparents' gentle and peaceful teachings. Therefore, seeing Jizo-san's house near his home become dirty and dilapidated was not good for his mental health. Unpleasant feelings welled up inside him. It is so wrong to throw away even garbage. I remember my grandmother always telling me to take care of the Jizo statues. He transferred the contents of his shopping bag into his backpack and then turned the empty bag inside out with his hands. That way, he doesn't have to touch the garbage directly. I pick up the trash with all my might. Ugh, this is so disgusting. Even though his face contorted in disgust at the feel of the garbage through the bag, he felt anger toward the person who threw it away. At that moment, a blinding light suddenly appeared in front of him. Whoa! What is this? The next moment, the light faded, leaving his vision completely white. However, the scene reflected in his eyes was completely different. Where am I? Seriously? Where am I? There was no time to joke about the unfamiliar ceiling. The scene was clearly different from what it had been a moment ago and somehow filled with an exotic atmosphere. The cityscape consisted of one-story houses with mud walls. The long dirt roads were not made of asphalt. The trees that grew there were also unfamiliar. Even the climate was different. A slightly damp and cold wind enveloped him, and Wataru shivered. The sky was not yet twilight, and there was still a strong feeling of daylight. Am I dreaming? Has he lost his mind? He doubted his own sanity, but his five senses told him that this was reality. The overwhelming sense of reality he feels all over his body makes it impossible for this to be a dream or a delusion. This doesn't feel like a cosplay venue, does it? The buildings that came into view were Western-style buildings. There were many low buildings covered with bricks and mud walls. There were no modern buildings made of concrete or steel. The people walking down the street were all dressed in era-appropriate clothing and looked nothing like the people who appear in movies or video games. In particular, their deeply carved facial features were immediately different from those of Japanese people, and to top it off, some of them even had animal ears. Is this a pattern that often appears in manga and light novels? Wataru, who had a hunch, expressed his doubts but had no proof. He was cleaning a Jizo statue when he found himself in another world. Is such a thing even possible? I mean, can I go back? Living in another world is too hard. No one on the street paid any attention to Wataru. Not only did they not look at him strangely, they didn't even seem to notice him. It was strange that he was talking to himself in a strange voice, but he didn't make eye contact with anyone. There was no doubt that something strange was happening. Wataru panicked. But when he calmed down a bit and looked around, he realized that the place he was standing was some kind of shrine. What's more, there was a rift in the room and, beyond it, a familiar cityscape. With a cry, he jumped into the space and found himself in the streets of Osaka. The humid air of a summer evening enveloped his skin. Oh, I can go back. So, can I go again? I can go again. Jumping back into the space in front of the Jizo statue, he found himself in a foreign cityscape. The air was damp and cool. Strangely enough, he found that he could go back and forth between the two places. If I can go back and forth at will, that's great. I'll go sightseeing for a bit. Now that he knew it didn't seem dangerous, he couldn't let this strange opportunity go to waste. It was a chance to go sightseeing, even though he knew that he should be more careful. He instinctively felt that it wasn't dangerous, so Wataru decided to enjoy the foreign country. Trading Between a Different World and Earth, Volume 1 Chapter 2. Sponsored chapter by Patreon. Enjoy. TL. Alt. Chapter 2, A Chance to Get Rich. One of the things that makes traveling to a foreign country so fun is experiencing the local way of life. Just seeing the European-style streets with your own eyes is fun, but when that scene is full of fantasy elements like a game world, it's even more exciting. Wataru's cheeks flushed as he looked at the many shops he could see with bright eyes. Oh, there's a blacksmith, a weapon shop, an adventurer's guild. There's even a monster shop and a slave shop. Each of the small wooden or metal signs had an easily recognizable symbol engraved on it. The blacksmith's shop had an anvil symbol, the adventurer's guild had a symbol of crossed swords, and the weapon shop's symbol was a crossbow. The slave shop had a collar symbol. It was easy to understand but perhaps a little too direct. Wow, I'd love to see that, but what about the money? At least it's not yen. The next problem was whether he could understand the language, but to his surprise, he could. If he listened carefully to the people in the city, he could understand what they were saying. However, the language they used was not Japanese. He thought about trying to figure out the details of how it worked, but soon gave up. In the first place, the fact that he was in this situation was far from common sense. You can use a smartphone even if you don't know how it works. In the same way, even if you don't know the mysterious workings of this other world, you can just enjoy the situation as it is. Wataru came to terms with this. I wonder if I can sell it somewhere. If you don't have any money, you have to earn it. There are two ways, work or sell. Wataru looked around with a serious expression on his face. There weren't many people wearing expensive clothes. The people who obviously wore expensive clothes were probably riding in carriages. From Wataru's point of view, the people he could see were poor, and their cultural level seems low. It was a different culture, so everyday items might be valuable. I have no idea what will sell here, but I'll ask around anyway. His eyes stopped at a shop. Welcome Trading Company, we buy and sell everything at a good price. It was a simple name, but it made it easier to enter. There were all sorts of products displayed in the shop, and it looked like a general store. It wasn't too big, but the shop's atmosphere was bright and clean, which was good. Wataru entered the store with a fighting spirit as if he wanted to get rid of his fear. The shop's interior had a counter at the front, and the rest of the space was taken up by shelves displaying the products. As Wataru looked around and made his way into the shop, a tall, handsome man with blonde hair immediately came to greet him. "Welcome. Everyone is welcome here. My name is William. It's nice to meet you." "Oh, I'm Wataru. It's a pleasure to meet you." "Wataru-sama, right? How can I help you today?" "I'd like to sell something. Is that okay?" "Of course. We welcome sales at our company as well." He's handsome. William has shiny golden hair tied back in a ponytail. His eyes are deep and clear, like sapphires, and they remind him of the beautiful sea. He has a thick mustache, and when he smiles, you can see his beautifully arranged teeth. He has a very friendly smile, but his way of speaking is very peculiar. Is it just the way he hears it, or is it normal for the people of this place? Wataru was unsure of his judgment as this was the first time he had come into contact with people from this other world. He tried to hide his confusion as much as possible. "I don't know if you can handle this, but is it okay?" "Of course. We can also buy your unusual clothes and the backpack you're carrying." "I see. Well, I'm not planning on getting naked, so I'll keep my clothes." "Is that so?" "It's just some old clothes and a backpack." Wataru doesn't know how old clothes and backpacks used to look or feel. He doesn't know that modern, everyday products are extremely sophisticated products created through the accumulation of ideas and technology over many years. "I have never seen these materials before. The shape of the backpack is also very unique." "Is it? Something like this?" "At least, I've never seen anything much like it in all the years I've been in this business. May I take a closer look?" "Sure. Please don't handle it roughly, though, because there's still some content inside." Of course, he had just bought some ingredients. Wataru put his backpack on the counter, and William looked at it with interest. The merchant's eyes were serious as he took the backpack and examined it. He touched the zipper with cautious hands as if he would break it. "Excuse me. I've never touched this kind of material before. This opening and closing function is also unusual. It's not a shoulder strap, but a wide piece of cloth. It seems to have a good amount of elasticity, so it doesn't dig into your shoulders. It's really well thought out." Oh no, I'm sorry. I got carried away." "What about this bag?" "It's a plastic bag, but it also contains some ingredients. Can you buy things like that?" "Let's have a look." "Oh, what is that smooth packaging? It's more transparent than glass. It looks like water, but it's dry." It's designed so that air can't get in." "I see." If it's just food, he can just buy it again. He took the items out of his backpack as he said that. William was curious about the items and asked questions about each one. He also took a look at the sugar cubes that Wataru had bought for his coffee during the break. "What is this white thing?" "It's a beautiful cube." "Is it salt?" "Salt is a government monopoly, and we don't deal with it here." "No, it's sugar." Sugar? Really? Speaking of sugar. Look, this is the kind of thing we deal in here." William took some sugar from the shelf. From Wataru's point of view, there was a clear difference between the brown sugar-like color of the sugar and the white sugar Wataru was holding. "I've never seen anything so white. Can I check it out?" "Sure. Go ahead." Is he so surprised by sugar? Perhaps this world is less civilized than he thought. Wataru tore open the package, and William carefully took a piece and licked it. His face widened in surprise. Oh, he's so surprised? Even Wataru, who was watching his reaction, was surprised. It's sweet. It really is sugar. And that penetrating sweetness. A taste that takes the sweetness of sugar to the extreme. It's wonderful. What an amazing sugar. Well, thank you. I'd like to buy a lot of other things too. But first I'd like to buy this sugar. I'm sure it will find a buyer soon. I understand. It was only a few hundred yen. He thought it wouldn't be much money just for the sugar. But it was a valuable opportunity to get local currency. He thought it would be a shame to turn it down, so he accepted the offer. It was more important to get some change and be able to buy things here. If you don't mind, we'd like to continue doing business with you, but is this okay? We think the customers who bought this and their acquaintances will want it. That's fine. I've done my best, So how about this? William came out from the back of the shop and took out some money. A pile of gold coins was pushed roughly onto the counter. Watru's eyes widened at the sight of the unexpectedly large amount of money. The gold coins on top of the pile slipped down and made a clear clinking sound. Could it be that there is a chance for him to become rich? Trading Between a Different World and Earth, Volume 1 Chapter 3. Enjoy. TL. Alt. Chapter 3. Business Conclusion. After being surprised by the pile of gold coins, Watru froze for a moment. He opened his eyes wide and swallowed hard. The golden glitter was dazzling and too attractive for Watru, who had never seen a lump of gold before. However, the merchant William must also have been afraid that the negotiations would fail. He asked for Watru's opinion. What do you think? If it's more than that, it will be difficult for us to handle it. Oh, I'm sorry. I was just thinking. As you can see, I'm not from around here, so I'm going to be honest and ask you, how much is this gold worth? Value. I think the annual income of an average craftsman is about 5 gold coins. That much? Isn't that too much? After all, a few hundred yen worth of sugar in the supermarket is worth 10 million yen here. Huh? Watru was even more speechless and surprised, but his face was furrowed, and he looked worried. William began to tell him about the decision he had made regarding the purchase price. He probably wanted to gain trust by making it seem like a fair transaction. Yes. This is such high-quality sugar with a high degree of purity, so it has a high scarcity value, and we added a little more than the general market price. The people who would buy it would probably be nobles or large trading companies. If you could negotiate with them directly, you might be able to sell it for a higher price. But you would also need connections and a track record to negotiate. If you took it to another trading company, there would probably only be a limited number of places that could offer a higher price than our store. I understand. Then I'll leave it to you. The negotiation is finished. As long as he sells at a high price, there's no problem. He doesn't want to risk the possibility of being haggled over by talking too much about the situation. Watru shakes William's hand firmly. He was about to bow and end the meeting but changed his mind at the last moment. It was an unusual handshake, but it didn't feel bad. Am I going to be rich now? And I can get as much sugar as I want, and if I want, I can even bring in other ingredients. The sugar on the counter was moved to the back, and money was given to Watru instead. A smile appeared on Watru's face. Then I'll separate some of it into silver and copper coins to make it easier to use. Oh, thank you. That's a great help. Not at all, it's a good deal. William fills the leather pouch with gold coins. When Watru receives the bag, which is tied with a string and bulging, he is surprised by its weight. He thinks about it and realizes that it's no wonder it's heavy since it's made of gold. He puts it in his backpack with a wry smile. Also, I'm sorry to be so forward, but are you alone? Yes, but is something wrong? Normally, I wouldn't pry, but you don't seem to know much about this area. Yes, I suppose so. You can tell, can't you? Yes, I could tell even before we started talking business. He acted like a tourist. An experienced merchant would have seen through him at a glance. Because he understood that, Watru was not surprised by William's words. What do you think? If you like it, this is also a good opportunity. If you need help from our company, we will be happy to help you. Is that okay? Of course. If you are worried about it, I would be happy if you could give something back for the next transaction. Well, it would still be a help. It was probably a joke, but Watru took it seriously. He didn't know his left hand from his right. Getting a foothold in the new country was very important. Without a visa or a passport, he was essentially the same as a tourist abroad, not knowing whether police or hospitals were or what kind of services he could expect. Information was more important than anything else. Since you will be using our shop in the future, I will tell you, but I recommend that you either hire a bodyguard or buy a slave. The area is safe, but the side streets are dangerous and your clothes will attract a lot of attention. I see. Thank you for your advice. I didn't know I was in such a dangerous place. I guess I'll have to be more careful than when I travel abroad. He had just arrived here, but when he was told that his safety was in danger, he felt uneasy. He had planned to continue exploring the city, but he began to worry about whether he would be okay. He had heard stories of Japanese people being pickpocketed or robbed. Even overseas, there was no guarantee that this place was any safer. If you've just arrived, I can introduce you to a reliable place where you can pay by the day or month. I see. I'll think about it for a while. If it seems necessary, please let me know. He also had the option of going through the gate and returning to Japan, taking all his belongings with him. It would be too hasty to make a snap decision. Of course. I'll tell you the location first. If you mention my name, they won't do anything bad to you. Thank you for taking care of everything. When can you bring the sugar next time? If possible, it would be great if you could bring it within a month. That is definitely possible. If you like, I can bring it tomorrow. Oh no. As expected, it would take some time to sell it and get the money. It hardly costs anything to start. If it were possible to travel between this world and the next, he would have rushed back today, not tomorrow. But William's expression was filled with surprise. I see. It's an expensive thing. My apologies. So you still have stock. It was the right decision to set a fair price. It was a good deal. We look forward to your next visit. By the way, do you do this every time a customer leaves the store? Of course we do. It's the symbol of our company. After muttering to himself, Watru smiled wryly at William, who had cheerfully raised his voice. William, however, answered Watru's question with a broad smile. He's a good man but a bit strange. Watru never said these thoughts out loud. Trading Between a Different World and Earth, Volume 1 Chapter 4, Sponsored Chapter by Patreon. Enjoy. TL, Alt. Chapter 4, How to Spend a Large Sum of Money. After leaving the store, a smile appeared on Watru's face. Wow, I got rich in just one day. He checked his backpack. It was very heavy. Inside the leather bag were gold coins worth tens of millions of yen. Just a bag of sugar from the supermarket sold for that price. There must be many more Japanese goods to sell. He could ask the Welcome Trading Company to buy them back or take them to another trading company. If he wanted, he could even hire someone with a sharp eye and set up a shop here. In this world, it wouldn't be a dream to get rich, even though he knew that his realistic prediction of the future would make him look like a suspicious person. He couldn't help but smile. People on the street saw Watru and stepped aside, but Wataru didn't even have time to notice them, so he continued walking with a grin on his face. Now that he had a lot of money, he thought he'd see if there was anything he wanted here. The main streets seemed to be okay, so he'd just have to be careful on the side streets. As he examined the city's landscape again, he noticed that the sky occupied a large portion of his field of vision. This was because the buildings were all only about 2 stories high, and there were no skyscrapers such as apartment blocks or office buildings like in the city of Osaka, where Watru lived. From a hill or mountain with a good view, he would probably be able to see a good panoramic view of the city. The streets were lined with horse-drawn carriages and paved with cobblestones, but if he turned down a side street, he would find himself on a dirt road. Perhaps the reason there are so many orange buildings is because of the color of the soil. On the main street, there are more shops with tables set up on the street and products displayed on them than shops like the Welcome Trading Company, where you go inside. Under the awnings that provide protection from the sun and rain, there is a jumble of colorful food and goods. It has an atmosphere of stalls that line the streets during summer festivals and New Year's in Japan, and there is a lively bustle of people shopping. I'm really interested in the food. I've never seen anything like this before. I wonder which is the best? There were fruit stalls, spice stalls, soup stalls, and stir-fry stalls all lined up. Eating food from a foreign country is a bit scary. There's the fear of getting an upset stomach and the hope that he might be able to taste something delicious that he's never had before. He continued walking, looking at the stalls from a distance. But then his feet stopped as he was drawn in by the delicious smell of meat that wafted through the air. He was starving, as he had planned to eat when he got home. Wow, it's manga meat. I've never seen that before. T/N, it's something like this. Hey, brother, do you want to buy some? Look at the color of this meat, it's delicious. What kind of meat is it? This is the belly meat of a beast called ganrel. It's tough, but the juices are sweet, and it's incredibly delicious. This meat is delicious even just grilled, but I rub it with coarse salt and season it with a special sauce. Manga meat? Watru looked at the meat and smiled charmingly at the shopkeeper, who looked puzzled. The meat on the bone glistened with the sauce and was well cooked. The fat dripping from the skin made it look delicious. The smell of the sweet and savory meat, oil, and sauce made his mouth water. If it was well done, there would be little risk of food poisoning. It looks like it's so big that it's hard to bite into. If you want to buy it, I'll cut it off for you. Then I'll have some. Here you go. That's 3 copper coins. The meat was skillfully cut with a knife and handed over. Watru sat down on the prepared bench next to him and, wondering what kind of meat it was, threw it into his mouth. The juice spread in his mouth, and he forgot his worries. He savored the happiness in his mouth. It is so delicious. The refreshing sourness, the chewy texture, the delicious taste of the meat, and the sweetness of the fat all come together. Hee, I know, right? Oh, when you're done, just leave the plate there. He nodded to the shopkeeper, who smiled happily and then ate the meat like a madman. Thanks for the food. Wow, you really ate a lot. It was delicious. Next to the shopkeeper was a tub in which other customers piled their plates after finishing their meals. Rubbing his now full stomach, Watru smiled with satisfaction and looked for the next shop. Man, that was delicious. It doesn't sound so bad to live here for a while. It would be fun just to walk around and try out all the delicious-looking restaurants. Eating is fine, but they said I should either hire a bodyguard or buy a slave. But if I buy a slave, I'll have to find a place for them to live, too. I could have them live with me, but I live alone, so I'd be happier if they did the housework or something. Well, it's free to just look, and I don't know the price, so I'll check it out. He had already heard from William where the shop was. Apparently, it was a slave trader's shop that was impossible to forget once you'd seen it. He had been told that the owner had a strong personality but that the merchandise was reliable and one could buy with confidence. He had been told that it was a magnificent 3-story building on the river that ran through the city and that he would be able to recognize it at a glance by the cool indigo flag that flew from the top. When he looked, he could see that this was indeed the place he was looking for. The storefront was completely different from the food stalls, with large windows and a magnificent gate that made it look different from the outside. On both sides of the gate were guards holding long spears. So this is the place. The guards, dressed in strange, exotic-looking clothes, gave Watru a stern look, but they didn't try to exclude or reject him. If he was about to be turned away at the gate, he could simply tell them William's name. But it took courage to maintain a dignified attitude in the face of people carrying weapons. Watru, his heart pounding at the word slave, slipped through the door of the shop. Trading Between a Different World and Earth, Volume 1 Chapter 5. Enjoy. TL. Alt. Chapter 5, Slave Trade. Inside the store, the first thing that was visible was a large hall with a counter at the front. The interior was very luxurious, with a magnificent marble statue of a beautiful woman and a beautiful chandelier hanging from the ceiling. Will there be muscular black men or beautiful female slaves? Will there be a night service? While suppressing a giggle at his own cheap fantasy, Watru looked at the woman standing at the counter and was surprised. Welcome. Ara, aren't you a charming customer? The woman was extremely tall. Her bulging biceps and shoulders were developed like a bodybuilder or wrestler, and she wore heavy makeup. She had a strong gaze, and unlike William, who seemed friendly, she radiated an intimidating aura like a warrior. When Watru handed her the letter of introduction from William, the woman smiled. My name is Maso. What kind of slave are you looking for? How much would you charge for a slave who can do personal care and bodyguard work? You are a lucky customer. I've just bought a good one. Normally, I don't show them to first-time customers. But since you seem to have been referred by Welcome Trading Company, you're an exception, you know. When he was winked at, all Watru could do was smile dryly. However, he was very grateful for the kindness. He went upstairs, taking the stairs on either side of the counter. When he was led into a rather empty room, the introduction of the slaves began immediately. The staff moved quickly at Maso's direction and the slaves entered the room and stood in a line. They seemed to be relatively younger men and women, and those with good physiques had been gathered together. This girl is recommended because she can provide a certain level of protection and also take care of you as a maid. My name is Mariel. I look forward to serving you, Master. Mariel bowed her head. She was so beautiful. Her shining silver hair, her large, jewel-like eyes, her pale lips were well-colored, and she had a beautiful smile and straight teeth. Her flawless skin was slightly flushed with excitement, and she stared intently at Watru. She is well educated, and her manners are not bad. And most of all, she looks good, right? Yes, that's right. I never thought there was such a beautiful woman. Ara, thank you. Would you like to buy this beauty and make her your own? Well, I guess I could think about it. She also has a great figure. It's not just her face that's beautiful, but her figure as well. She's got the right curves in all the right places. Long legs, high waist. She has the kind of figure you'd expect to see on a race queen or a ring girl, not a model in a tight-fitting outfit. Wataru thought that, with a style like that, he probably wouldn't need to have his pants hemmed when he bought them. He was a little jealous. Besides, she has a way with words. Possessing a beautiful woman. Such a feeling of possession stirred his imagination. He almost decided to buy her on the spot. Maso introduces the next slave. What caught Wataru's eye was something that looked like a cat's ears standing up on top of her head. The appearance, which he had only seen in cosplay or illustrations, piqued his interest. This girl is a beastkin from the Golden Tiger tribe, and she also practices swordsmanship. She's good-looking, and her skills are off the charts. I highly recommend her as a bodyguard. My name is Air. I can be useful with swordsmanship. I'm also a master of it. She is a beastkin, so she has excellent hearing and nose, and she has good night vision. Regardless of how she speaks, she's perfect for an escort. She may look cute, but she was also the strongest champion in the history of the arena. I was the best warrior in my clan. She doesn't seem particularly proud of it, but her attitude of taking her strength for granted is probably genuine. Her slender ankles and lithe lower legs give the impression of tremendous explosive power. The Golden Tiger tribe is famous for having the highest fighting ability of all the beastkin, and it seems that many of them make their living as bodyguards or mercenaries. How could such a strong fighter become a slave? It seems that she won too many fights, so the betting house ended up losing a lot of money. I see. The reason why betting is possible is because you never know if you're going to win or lose. Maso also gives appropriate answers to questions that suddenly come up. There is no suspicious look, so it must be true. Then, there is one point that worries him. When buying slaves, will slaves that are so strong not betray you? No. The slaves have a magic contract mark carved into them. Disobeying orders is painful, and if they intentionally kill or injure their masters, they will die themselves. I see. This kind of technology. Then I feel safe. However, nothing is absolute. I recommend that you avoid any use that might make them resent you from the start. Wataru's biggest worry was that people would talk about his special abilities. He didn't think he would end up in a relationship where people would hate him. Then, if I order them to keep quiet about the fact that I can travel between Earth and here, I should be safe, right? While Wataru made these calculations, Maso continued to explain the merchandise. And she is beautiful, isn't she? Look at her body. As a woman, I'm jealous of her. Yes. She has a different kind of beauty than the girl from before. As you would expect from a golden tiger, she has long, shiny golden hair that reaches down to her waist. What's surprising is that she has breasts that even the most popular gravure idols would struggle to match. And because she is a beastkin, her breasts are supported by strong muscles and ligaments, and they stick out in a beautiful position. Still, the slenderness of her waist and ankles, which resemble the suppleness of a cat, as well as the tightness of her thighs and the line of her buttocks, beautifully balance carnal desire and physical beauty. It's a different type of body than the bulky bodybuilder type, though. Wataru wanted to object to some of Maso's comments, but he acted wisely not to say them. After that, the lineup of slaves was explained, but as Maso had said at the beginning, they were all a grade or two below the first two. What do you want to do? These two have basically sold all their rights. If you want to take them, they'll give you their bodies right away. Is that so? These two cost 5 gold coins each. If you buy them now, they'll cost 9 gold coins and 4 silver coins. They can't be reserved. If there are other customers who want them, these women will belong to those other customers. The two slaves look at Wataru with expectant gaze. He has the money. And he might spend a lot of money on them, but it's easy money. He can replenish it if he wants to. Wataru calculates in his head, I can have these beautiful women serve me. Isn't that a chance? What if another man takes them away? No way. The thing that made the final decision was his desire to have them all to himself. Even though he had only seen them once and exchanged a few words with them, his heart was already captured. Would he hesitate and regret it later? Or would he regret spending his money so frivolously? If you asked him, there was only one answer for Wataru, I will buy them. Thank you. I'm sure you'll like them." The slave trader's smug smile made him think he'd fallen for it. But strangely enough, he didn't regret it. Trading Between a Different World and Earth, Volume 1 Chapter 6. Sponsored chapter by Patreon. Enjoy. TL. Alt. Chapter 6. Buying Slaves. I want you to sign this slave contract. Oh, I've never seen this character before. Have I? My name is Wataru Sakai. Is there any problem with my signature? No, there is no problem with the signature itself, as it is only for identification purposes, but... Do you have a family register? If not, a tax will be added to the purchase price. No, it's in another place. I see. I understand. Wataru continued with the contract in response to Maso's question. Wataru could read and speak the language of this world, but it seemed that writing was another matter. I don't know how it works here. Fortunately, the transaction was completed without any problems, except for the fact that there was a small tax to pay. Many people seem unable to write, so it is also acceptable to have someone else write on their behalf. Those who are unable to do so can use a seal as a substitute for their signature. Now, the slaves are yours. Please treat them well. Of course. I will do everything I can to make sure they are happy. Slaves are treated as property, so you won't be held responsible for breaking them or killing them. But the owner will be held responsible for any misconduct by the slave. It is also the owner's responsibility to discipline them properly. I understand. Thank you for teaching me so much. It's nothing. Please become a regular customer from now on, okay? He untied the heavy coin purse and arranged the gold and silver coins. After checking that they were indeed there, Mariel and Air were handed to him. My wallet feels a lot lighter now. One moment, he had a large sum of money, and the next, he had lost most of it. If you call it easy money, that's what it was, but he had gained 2 beautiful slaves instead. In terms of wealth, you could say that he hadn't lost anything. He had made a lot of money from selling the sugar. It should be possible to earn more from other things. When he considered it, buying them to get local information must have been a good deal. The 2 of them were forced to change into simple but clean clothes. Looking at them up close, they didn't look like slaves at first glance. However, under their clothes, they had slave tattoos carved into their skin. I've seen them in some light novels, but tattoos just to show that you're a slave are pretty erotic. It had a different feel than the flashy tattoos that Yakuza members wear. Mariel and Air bowed before Wataru. Thank you for buying me, Master. I will serve you with all my heart. I am Air, Master. I will protect you with all my might from any enemy. It is good to have you. I'll do my best to make sure you don't suffer. Since this is my first time buying slaves, please let me know if I give you any unreasonable orders. I don't want to wear you out. Understood. Both of them looked relieved on their well-shaped faces. It seemed that Wataru had guessed correctly that they would be worried about not knowing what kind of master they would have or how they would be treated. He had bought slaves for his own safety while working in this world, but there was one point that worried him. He would have to check that out first. For now, I want to know if you can keep a secret. I'm fine. How about you, Air? No problem. I don't lie or gossip about secrets. Well, I think you'll be fine, but just to be sure, I'll give you an order. Don't tell anyone about my identity. If anyone asks, just say that you can't say anything because I've ordered you not to. Now he can relax. Of course, there is a good chance that people will wonder what kind of master he is after he suddenly tells them this. It's very painful to be distrusted by the 2 people who work for you. So, if possible, he wanted to explain the reason properly. I think you'll find out soon enough as we live together, but I came to this city in a rather unusual way, and I plan to deal in rare and valuable goods that are hard to come by. So if people ask me who I am and where I got the goods, I'll be in trouble. I see. I understand. I wasn't going to tell them anyway. Me too. With Mariel's beautiful smile and Air's attitude, wagging her tail and moving her tiger-like ears up and down, he guessed that some of his doubts had been cleared up. The problem that remained was where they would live. Could he really bring them to Earth? Even if he could, wouldn't it cause an uproar? Or would it be better to let them live in this world, in a house of their own? There were several possible candidates, but renting a place and having them stay overnight would cost money, and most importantly, there wouldn't be enough time. It was already dark, and it would be difficult to find a place and arrange a contract now. For now, I'll let you come to my house. So follow me. Understood? Come on, Air. Let's go. I'll protect my master's back from behind. Ara, you're going to work right now. What should I do? If you want, I'd like to hear about you two and this city. After looking up at the sky where the starlight had begun to appear, Watru began to walk with the two of them. This is strange. I'm scared. Well, it was really a hard time. When they saw the gate that connected the two worlds, they were absolutely amazed. Mariel's eyes were wide open, and Air was so scared that her tail fluttered. She cowered, reluctant to jump through the gate. However, since Watru had taken the initiative and gone through the gate, the two slaves couldn't help but follow. With a look of fear, they walked through the gate and seemed to be startled again. Or rather, how can Watru be so calm? Although he was surprised, he did not feel any fear at all. On the contrary, he felt excited, or perhaps warm and at ease. Looking back calmly now, it was a situation where he should have been a little more cautious. Why wasn't he suspicious of the existence that caused this phenomenon? Even though he didn't know the details, he couldn't ignore the conviction he had inside that everything would be fine. Or should he say the Earth? Perhaps because time passes a little faster in Osaka, where he lives, than in the world beyond the gate. It was pitch black. It wasn't really pitch black because the city was lit up, but the area around the statue of Jizo with the gate open was strangely dim and dark. Just like in the other world, the area around the open gate seemed to be beyond human perception. This is. It suddenly became night. Uh-oh. I can defeat any enemy in an instant with my hands. Hey, Air, it's a crime to attack people here, so stop it. Is this teleportation magic? I've heard that ancient ruins may still contain teleportation techniques using advanced lost magic. Are you a magician, Master? No wonder you're so intent on keeping secrets. No, this is not my ability. Is that so? But I have learned that only the chosen can use the ruins. Wataru glanced around restlessly, trying to calm his alertness and disagreeing with Mariel's hasty conclusion, perhaps because of her wealth of knowledge. The statue of Jizo was indeed very close to his house, only a 2-minute walk away. After instructing them to follow him in silence for the time being, he hurried along, praying that he wouldn't attract any more attention. Trading Between a Different World and Earth, Volume 1 Chapter 7. Enjoy. TL. Alt. Chapter 7. The Slaves Visiting Watru's House. Watru lives in a rented apartment. It's a 2DK apartment that he lives in alone, and it's a little far from the station and a little old, so it's cheap for its size. He used to live in a 1K apartment, but he found that he couldn't even cook for himself and it ended up being more expensive, so he decided to rent a slightly bigger apartment. More space means more peace of mind. Some people live in apartments with their spouses, but most are single. He had liked the moderate sense of distance, which meant he didn't have to think too much about his neighbors, but it was also convenient to bring the two of them along. If people started asking questions and found out what was going on, it would be a disaster. In modern Japan, they couldn't just casually say that they were slaves. In the first place, would that make them illegal immigrants? The shared mailbox was kept clean by the management company, so there were no flyers scattered around. Watru and the others climbed the stairs to the 3rd floor. It's so bright. I can't see any stars at all. This is probably because the scenery is completely different from the city they live in. Watru entered the entrance hall while the two girls looked around in admiration and watched with interest. Please take off your shoes. No shoes are allowed beyond this point. I understand. It seems like we've been bought by someone amazing. He, I don't mind. I'm happier when my owner is awesome. The girl's slightly high voice echoing in his own house gave him a strange feeling. Since he became a member of society, he had lost contact with women outside of work, so this was a refreshing experience. From now on, they could live together forever. If they wanted to, they could even sleep in the same bed. Maybe it would be better to move to a bigger place, but he doesn't have enough money to move that quickly. Considering the maintenance costs, was it too early to buy 2 slaves? If he had to, he should have bought gold or jewels first and then exchanged them for money here. But if he did that, there was a possibility that the 2 girls would have been bought by another man. Watru's mind floated and could not calm down. While worrying and thinking, he left the corridor and entered his room. It's a bit messy. There are probably a lot of things you've never seen before, so don't touch anything you shouldn't. Light magic, cold magic. Master was a magician from another world. No, was he an alchemist? The master was an amazing person. In my village, there was only an old fortune teller and a pharmacist. There were no magicians at all. That's not what I meant. Mariel was surprised every time he turned on the air conditioner and lowered the room temperature. He wondered if he would react the same way if he were transported to a futuristic city. He thought he wouldn't be surprised to the same extent, but on second thought, Watru had been exposed to fantasy through light novels, manga, and anime. If Mariel, Air, and the others hadn't experienced such stories, it wouldn't be surprising if their surprise was even greater. Sorry, but I don't have a bed for guests. I'll get one as soon as I can, so could you sleep on the sofa tonight? Thank you. It's fine compared to sleeping on the floor. Wow, Mariel, it's so fluffy. Fluffy. Hey, Air, that's bad manners. Ha ha ha, it's okay. The way Air pushes the sofa cushions and enjoys their bounce is like that of a small child, and it gives off an innocent feeling. However, her body is full of the charm of a mature woman. Watru's eyes were drawn to her breasts, which swayed gently. Although Air looks like an animal, she has excellent physical abilities, and her style is so good that it's almost inhuman. Even the physically calculated CG is a bit more restrained than her protruding chest. Because she's bent over, you can see a deep valley. Any man would be attracted to her. He doesn't think it's vulgar to stare at her. Mariel, who had been staring intently at her master, looked away in a panic, and Wataru decided to tell her the first thing he had to explain. It was how to use the kitchen and other household appliances, as well as the toilet and other household items. Ah, Mariel, can you cook? I think I can do most things. But I'm not a professional, so please don't expect too much in terms of taste. That's okay. From now on, I'd like you to take care of my daily needs. But the tools used here are quite different, so I'll teach you how to use them first. Thank you for your trouble. Air, you should listen to this as well. I understand. I can cook too, so leave it to me. Air also replied cheerfully, so it seemed like there would be no problem. Cooking for yourself takes time and effort. Since it's just for him, he often ends up settling for something quick and easy. If he could leave it to them, it would be a great help. Oh, he wondered, which world would be cheaper for food and ingredients? It's not always possible to get the same products, but if it's cheaper, that's even better. Watru remembered that he would also have to check the markets next time. Then, Watru briefly explained the appliances in the house. The two were amazed, and their eyes lit up as he described each item in detail, from the gas stove to the refrigerator, microwave, oven, washing machine, and vacuum cleaner. Well, it's something like this. This is amazing, really amazing. Is something wrong? No, I'm just speechless at how comfortable everything is and how wonderful Master's life is. It's not that I'm amazing. Well, I guess I'll let you know as we go along. Besides, I can't use magic or anything like that, so I'd like to know about that as well. Still, even the king wouldn't be able to afford this standard of living as far as I know. Well, when you put it like that, I'm starting to get a little worried, but if he's the king, he probably doesn't cook for himself, so it doesn't really matter, does it? Well, though, the cooks and maids who work there must have their hands full. Mariel thought about Wataru's explanation for a while, and then she understood. Whether it's getting good equipment or hiring good workers, it's the same in that it reduces one's own workload. The rest is a matter of cost and profit. It looks like there's a lot to learn. It can be done little by little. I also plan to live and shop in your city. Oh, I'm really curious about this city. If it's hard for you to speak, please speak in a way that I can understand. You'll probably pick up the language as you speak, and I don't want to scold you or get angry. I'm sorry, Mariel, but I'd like you to cover this area for me. Leave it to me. I'll give her a good education. Mariel's scary. Well, be gentle. After teaching them how to use the machine to a certain extent, they made tea as a practical exercise. Since Wataru hadn't prepared the ingredients for 3 servings of dinner, he decided to order takeout. It would be fun to see the standard of cooking in this world. He wondered how they would react. While they waited for the food to arrive, Wataru decided to talk about the things he had been thinking about since he bought them. Well, I'd like to talk about the reason why I bought you both as slaves and my purpose. When I bought you, my request to Maso was that Air would take care of my safety and that Mariel would take care of my daily needs. The fact that you're both beautiful. Well, I guess there's no point in denying it. I am a man, after all." The two nodded in agreement. "So far, they've talked about the prerequisites, but that's not all," Watru continued, tilting his glass and wetting his lips. "But that's not all. I want to know something about your world. But we are not scholars, so I don't know how much we can help you." "I understand that, and even if you don't know, I won't scold you or get angry. How can I put it? I think you came to my world and were surprised by the differences you saw when you touched things." "That's right. I was very surprised." "Master's house is amazing. The humid heat is gone." Watru smiled wryly as he said, "Thank you." It's true that the technological standards of the developed countries of this world are advanced, but Watru himself has made no effort, and he doesn't understand how it works. It was his ancestors who built such a society. Although he felt embarrassed to be praised for something that was natural for a resident of this world, he did not feel good about it. "But it's the same for me in your world. Because the world is completely different. The obvious is different. There are definitely things that are obvious in my world that are very good in your world, and vice versa. If you notice this, please let me know." "Understood. Understood. I want to sell good things from this world, and if there are things that are better, I want to sell them here. That way, we can introduce each other's good things and make the world a little better." "So you are a merchant who travels not only around the country but also around the world, aren't you, Master?" "It's not that big a deal, but—" "I see. Anyway, you have to get used to life here first, so if you notice anything, just let me know." Watru wants to get used to the other world as well, and most of all, he wants to get to know the two of them better. Beautiful Mariel. Beautiful and sweet, just looking at their well-proportioned faces staring back at him, he can't help but fall in love with them. They have become his possessions. He doesn't know what kind of fate brought them to him. But Watru thinks it's good that he was able to go to another world. Trading Between a Different World and Earth, Volume 1 Chapter 8, Sponsored Chapter by Patreon. Enjoy. TL, Alt. Chapter 8, A Pleasant Wake-Up and a Risk of Death. It was a pleasant awakening. It was a strange feeling as if he was wrapped in soft marshmallows. He was surrounded by a sweet smell, and his heart felt at peace. As he opened his eyelids to the light filtering in, Watru's consciousness suddenly awoke. There was someone else sleeping on the bed. The warmth of this body was so comforting that he felt like he wanted to sleep a little longer. But who would sleep with him since he lived alone? With a dazed mind, Watru slowly opened his eyes. What he saw was a large breast. Air was lying on his side, resting her head on Watru's head. The large breast covered his face. Is that the reason for this soft feeling? Is this a dream? He woke up in the morning and was held in her arms. Her breasts were so soft that his face was buried in them, and his nose made a squishing sound. When he moved his face, the breasts changed shape and were soft and squishy no matter where he moved them. The softness and sweet smell made a part of his lower body become hard. Watru, who had never experienced anything like this before, could not quite grasp the reality of the situation. However, when he remembered that he had bought a slave yesterday, he slowly came to understand that this situation was indeed real. Air was wearing the t-shirt that Watru had lent her. She showed her body, which had been hidden under the thin fabric, without any reservations. She had a well-developed female physique with a surprisingly large and well-shaped chest. Even among the busty gravure idols, her breasts were among the largest. Despite this, her waist was slender, as if she had a natural corset, and her stomach was slightly dimpled. The soft curves of her hips and thighs continued from there. Her long, slender tail hung limply at her side. There was no excess fat on her calves, and her ankles were slender and firm. Her long eyelashes accentuated her well-proportioned face as she slept. Her golden tiger ears stood on top of her head and twitched as if unconsciously picking up the sound of Watru's movements. Watru thought again that the beauty of her body was inhuman. Funya. As a man, he was truly happy to be held by such incomparable beauty. If it were up to him, he would pounce on her right now. But if she reflexively resisted him, he might get beaten up. What about the fact that the slave who was supposed to be sleeping elsewhere was sleeping with him? Should he scold her? And what about Mariel? Watru tries to pull his face away, even if he does it reluctantly. And you Tilda? Funya Tilda. You are, Fukagyu, let go of me. These potatoes are for Air. What kind of dream are you having? Air, still in a dream, holds on to Watru and does not let go. I'm going. to die. His nose and mouth were pressed down, and he felt more and more suffocated. With no time to enjoy the situation, Wataru shook off Air's grip, feeling like he was escaping from a judo hold. He felt like he was grabbing different parts of her body, but he couldn't tell where he was touching. Towards the end, he was so dazed that he could only see stars flickering in his vision, and he struggled to stay awake. Manya manya. Potato. My goodness, you look so happy. So damn cute. Air was fast asleep, unaware that Wataru had left. Seeing her like that, Wataru couldn't bring himself to get angry, even though he was out of breath. She looked so defenseless and cute as she slept. But what about that story about slaves not being able to harm their masters? I almost died. Maybe there's a loophole that says it doesn't work if they're unconscious, or maybe there are cases of master murder disguised as accidental death. He takes a deep breath to clear his head and gets out of bed. He looks at the clock and sees that it is 8:10 in the morning. He had argued with her for a while, so he woke up a full 10 minutes later than usual. He wasn't angry, but to leave her like this was something else. Wataru touched her body to wake her up. When he touched her again after he had calmed down, he was surprised by the softness of her shoulders and the resilience of the smooth muscles underneath. There was a softness that was feminine and a hardness that was that of a warrior. His heart was racing from the lack of experience of touching a woman for so long. Hey, wake up. It's morning, Air. Manya. Oh? Master. Whoa? Air, who had yawned with bleary eyes, seemed to doze off again and then leaned against Wataru. His face was wrapped in the soft, elastic feel of her body, and he felt as if his consciousness was melting away. Ah, this is really comfortable. No, it's not. Wake up, it's morning. I'm sleepy. Is it low blood pressure? Why is Air sleeping here anyway? NNGH, I think it's because it was cold. Oh, I'm sorry, Wataru apologized. He thought it would be hot, so he turned on the air conditioner. At first, Air was happy with the coolness, but maybe it was too cold to sleep. They say that men and women have very different tolerances for colds. Besides, he didn't have time to buy some clothes for them because he had bought them without any plans. In the end, the clothes they had bought as slaves were used as their everyday clothes, and now Wataru's clothes were temporarily given to Air. However, it was summer, so she only wore a t-shirt. Even though Air was a head taller than Wataru, she looked like she was wearing a baggy t-shirt. When she stood up, her thighs, which were covered before, were exposed. Speaking of which, what happened to your pants, Air? I took them off because my tail was too tight. Oh, I see. From now on, I'll have to think about that when I buy clothes. If Wataru could roll up the t-shirt, she'd only be wearing her underwear. He had some rather naughty thoughts, but he shook them off. This is no time for that. Even while they were talking, Air was dozing off, and it looked like she would fall asleep at any moment. Cats were known to sleep for long periods, and Air might have been influenced by that. Come on, wash your face and get changed. I'll prepare breakfast, so be ready by then. Yes, who would have thought that she was a high-ranking bodyguard? Looking at the way she moved her mouth and walked clumsily. To him, she looked like a sweet, normal girl, trading between a different world and Earth. Volume 1 Chapter 9. Enjoy. TL. Alt. Chapter 9. Mariel's Misunderstanding and Shopping. Wataru went to see if Mariel was awake but was surprised to see her sitting in the dining room, looking dazed. She had dark circles under her eyes, and it looked like she hadn't slept at all. What on earth was she doing? Wataru wondered and watched her for a while. Even when she's absent-minded, a beautiful woman is still beautiful and a feast for the eyes. There was a large bulge around her chest on her t-shirt, and the sunlight highlighted the shadows beautifully. Her breasts were really huge. When Mariel recognized Wataru's figure, her face turned bright red from ear to ear. After a moment of confusion, she bowed deeply and greeted him. Her porcelain white skin turned bright red, making her look like a maple leaf in autumn, and it really stood out. Good morning. Yes, good morning. What's the matter? Your face is bright red. And nothing. Nothing? I don't think that reaction means nothing. When Wataru asked her a question, Mariel became visibly nervous. With such a clear sign of excitement, it would be hard to get away with saying it was nothing. Instead of getting angry, he tilted his head in wonder, and Mariel, perhaps resigned, covered her face with her hands and began to explain the situation. I was so nervous I couldn't sleep, wondering when you were going to call me to sleep with you. No, wait a minute. I'm Of course, I'd be happy if you slept with me, and it would be a lie to say I hadn't thought about it at all." He stopped talking there. To be honest, he was a little afraid of Mariel's reaction. Prostitution and the slave trade are things that some people have a strong reaction against. It might be acceptable depending on culture, customs, and common sense, but he didn't want to be looked down upon. It was selfish of him to try to do something like that, but that was also Watru's true feeling. "But I'm not the kind of guy who would force you to do something like that on the day I bought you. You're probably not even able to live your life the way you want to right now. Mariel's pretty quiet, isn't she?" That's not true. It's a misunderstanding. Please, believe me." "Then why did you wait around alone, assuming that I had ordered you to do something when I hadn't said a word? Could it be that?" Watru swallowed the words. "Did you have expectations?" But Mariel, her face as red as a ripe apple, desperately denied it, her eyes moist with shame. "I noticed air entering your room in the middle of the night, and I thought you had given her orders beforehand." "I see. It seems that air felt cold, so she came in on her own. I was sleeping soundly until just now. I'm sorry if I gave you the wrong impression." "It was my mistake. I'm sorry." "No, it was my fault. I'm sure you were embarrassed, and I didn't put myself in Mariel's shoes. Please forgive me." "Yes." Watru's voice softened as he looked at Mariel's well-proportioned face and slender limbs. It would be a lie to say that he hadn't thought about it. After all, she was a beautiful girl. She was also his slave. Regardless of Japanese law, if there were no problems in another world, there was little reason to hold back. From Mariel's point of view, she couldn't understand Wataru's way of thinking. In her position as a slave, it was difficult for her to refuse him. It was only natural that she felt uneasy. The sight of the girl wrapped in his shirt was too much to bear. If possible, he wanted her to change back into her clothes from yesterday. "After you've eaten breakfast, you can get some sleep. I'm going out in the afternoon, so you'll have plenty of time until then. But I have to take care of your personal needs." "Can you work properly in such a state? Besides, it would be more of a problem if you collapsed or made a mistake. Most of all, I want Mariel to stay healthy. I bought you both because I was meant to, so I want you to be healthy and happy." "Master, I am grateful for your kind words." She bowed deeply, and Watru held back the urge to sigh. He had planned to leave everything to her, but it looked like it would take some time. Living alone had been uncomfortable, but at the same time, the freedom to make all the decisions was great. He had heard the saying that using people means taking care of them, and he thought it was true. But now he knows. At least Mariel is ready for sex. What should he do for breakfast? He toasts bread in the toaster, spreads butter and jam on it, and eats it. Mariel has never made coffee before, so he first shows her how to make it and lets her learn by watching. If she wants to go after the flavor, she'll have to be creative with the way she brews it, but if it's just a matter of brewing it, she should be able to copy it just by watching. The process itself isn't that complicated, and it doesn't require any difficult movements. From now on, he'll probably ask Mariel to prepare breakfast for him. To be able to eat fresh butter at any time. The bread is fluffy, soft, and easy to cook. The fact that Mariel was surprised by these things could be useful in the future, so he made a note of it on his smartphone. After eating, Mariel went to sleep on the sofa, and Air decided to sleep again. Watru worked a bit on his writing and spent the time researching the household items he needed to buy. Having 2 more roommates meant that it would cost more than he had expected. If you include things like bedding, tableware, clothes, and small items like toothbrushes and towels, there were a lot of things that needed to be bought. Among them, Watru decided to buy clothes in another world. In the case of Air, she needed a hole in her pants to let her tail out. If it was a hat, she needed a hole so that her ears wouldn't get squeezed. It seems that such a thing would be difficult here. Watru decided that Air would probably feel more comfortable if he bought clothes from a shop that dealt with beastkin. Would it be better if Mariel bought her clothes in the same shop, or Mariel could buy her clothes from a different store? Fortunately, the clothes they wore were not too outlandish, even by Earth's standards. They were dyed monochromatic and embroidered on the expensive ones. Since many of them were very simple, there was a risk that they would stand out too much among Earth designs. Also, since there was no prospect of a large income, there was the practical problem of not being able to afford expensive clothes on Earth. Perhaps this problem will be solved in the future when he receives something from another world that could be sold on Earth. He thought there were many business opportunities that people were not aware of. Mariel, Air, and Watru had bags of goods hanging from their hands. The 100-yen stores and drugstores were very useful for everyday necessities such as utensils and toothbrushes. It was a perfect example of the modern world of mass production and mass consumption. It was an amazing place. I've never seen a store with so many products on display. It was amazing. I want to go again. Haha, let's come back next time. If you find anything interesting or that looks like it might sell well, let me know later. The two of them seemed shocked by the difference in the range of products on offer. Mariel, who probably knows quite a bit about the world, was especially surprised. Air seemed to be more excited than surprised. Her ears were perked up, and her tail was wagging. The way her tail swung back and forth expressed her feelings perfectly. But even though her ears and tail were so conspicuous, no one seemed to pay any attention to her. Are they treating her like a cosplayer? However, it seems that people were still interested in her because she attracted a lot of attention. No, the reason for the attention was probably not just the ears and tail. The two exotic-looking girls, Mariel and Air, were having fun together. It was only natural that they would attract people's attention. Even though the prices of the individual items are cheap, if you buy a lot of them, the cost will add up. For Wataru, who was young and didn't have much money to begin with, it was quite an extravagant day. When he looked at the receipt with the large number of items listed, a frown appeared between his eyebrows. His wallet was getting thin, so he had to withdraw some money from the ATM. I bought a lot. Thank you for doing this for us. Thank you, Master. Well, it's all just the necessities of life, so it can't be helped. Shall I repay you by buying something for you? Hey, Air. Don't say things like that so easily. Oh, haha. Please save it for another time. It's natural for a woman to ask for a comb or a brush to help her look her best, and you can't just let her eat with her hands. If he doesn't work and earn money, he'll be in big trouble. Or maybe selling the products from these two shops in another world would be a good idea. Wataru thinks. With this money as a starting point, he could buy some products that might be profitable to sell there and use them to make a profit here. Should I take the sugar back to the Welcome Trading Company? Or would it be better to take another product? This might be a good opportunity to use Mariel and Air's knowledge. Wataru decided to consult them first. Trading Between a Different World and Earth, Volume 1 Chapter 10. Sponsored chapter by Patreon. Enjoy. TL. Alt. Chapter 10. Another World Again. They head towards the Jizo statue. After such a strange experience, Wataru stares at it intently, but it looks like an ordinary Jizo statue with nothing out of the ordinary about it. No one would believe that it could be connected to another world. As usual, the area around it is not very clean, and it is dirty with dust and moss. Wataru and the others passed through the gate again. The phenomenon of the scenery on both sides of the gate changing in an instant was still a fresh surprise, as they were not used to it. Air, on her second time through, was still on guard, ears pricked up and tail twitching. Even after they came out of the small shrine, no one around them paid any attention to Wataru and the others. It really seemed as if some mysterious force was at work. Will this also become normal one day? But it's something special that not everyone can experience. Maybe it's not a good thing to get used to. Wataru warned himself. He decided in his heart that he would clean the Jizo statues and shrines again next time. It is common that those who forget their sense of reverence and become arrogant are punished. He looks around to make sure the area is the same as last time and then leaves. Anyway, they have to walk around to get a feel for the area. Fortunately, there are not many skyscrapers, so the view is open, and he can see far into the distance. William had told him that the side streets were not very safe, so he walked along the main street as much as possible. There was a lot of foot traffic and many carriages and wagons coming and going. Shops lined both sides of the street. The street was about 2 car lengths wide, and there were trees planted in the middle. There were statues at the intersections to keep the locals from getting lost. At the end of the street, a large building came into view, and it was very impressive, both in terms of its material and its height. Whether you like it or not, you can tell it's an important building. What is that tall building? That's the church where the sun god, Hespo-sama, is worshipped. I see. Wataru thought for a moment after Mariel's answer. He wondered if it was okay to continue the conversation so casually. If I'm careless when talking about religion and sects, there's a high risk of destroying the relationship of trust. It goes without saying that I shouldn't talk about politics, religion, and sports teams. But on the other hand, not knowing about them is no different than walking into a minefield. For now, he decided to put the matter on hold and ask about it later. Mariel did not pursue Wataru's actions and kept silent. Followed from about 3 steps behind, keeping a watchful eye on the surroundings. Wataru didn't notice much, but the 3 of them walking down the main street attracted a lot of attention. A man in an unusual outfit and 2 beautiful women walking leisurely, seemingly sightseeing. It was only natural that they would attract attention, for better or worse. Mariel turned down a side street and pointed ahead. The church they had just passed was large, but this one was incomparably larger. That's the local lord's facility. It's huge and magnificent, isn't it? I was surprised by the size of the buildings in the master's city. I thought they could reach the heavens. Well, it's supposed to be the tallest building in Japan. But since all the buildings around here are 1-story buildings, it seems crazy huge to me when I compare it to them. Even though he didn't feel like it, he couldn't help but notice the very large 3-story building. Not only was it tall, but it also had a large area, enough to house a large commercial facility in Japan. Even though there were many users, the gatekeeper standing there with a spear, asking people who they were, also intimidated him. Come to think of it, I don't know anything about this city, including its name. I've only just arrived. This place is called South Ship Town, and as the name suggests, it's located south of the capital. It's about 3 days' walk from here. There aren't any major industries here, but there's a river running next to the city, so it's quite busy with river trade. I see. It's closer to the capital than I thought. It is. After that, if you continue down the river and walk for another 3 days or so, you'll reach the sea. Have you ever been that far, Mariel? No, I've only been to my birthplace and the royal capital. I only came to this city after I became a slave. I'm sorry. She must have remembered how she became a slave. Wataru apologizes lightly to Mariel, who looks down and seems reluctant to talk about it. He would like to know the circumstances one day, but since they have only just met, he has no intention of prying. If she works hard, that is more important. What kind of person is the lord of this place? It seems that this city is under the direct control of the king, so there is no direct lord, and the governor, Hiroda Tasama, rules over it. Thank you. Well, I guess it won't have anything to do with me. Well, the lord is one thing, but a lot of people come here to get various permits and such since it's a government office. If you're going to continue to do business here, Master might use it as well. I guess so. Looking more closely, he saw that all the people who had been questioned had entered without any problems. He thought that being too scared might also cause problems. Hey, Master, can I talk to you? What is it? Who had followed silently until then, called out to Wataru. Her voice was deep and subdued, giving the impression that she didn't want to be overheard. Her tail wagged nervously from side to side, and her ears pricked up and moved from time to time. They casually closed the distance between them and spoke in low voices. Shifted her eyes from side to side. We're getting a lot of attention, and there are some not so nice people watching us. Be careful. Is that so? I haven't noticed them at all. The obvious ones won't come out. You should close your bag properly and hold it tighter. Oh, okay. Mariel, you should also keep a close distance and make sure that pickpockets and purse snatchers don't get to us. Got it, thanks. Also, there might be some people who are a little too tough for me to protect with my bare hands. I want you to buy me a weapon somewhere. Got it. Do you know where the best weapon shop is around here? Mariel? They could just go to any weapon shop they wanted, but in a city where there seemed to be no set standards for products, it wasn't certain that they would be able to find stable quality. In that case, they would either have to go to a shop with a good reputation or be able to judge the quality, but Wataru didn't have that kind of knowledge or experience. Unfortunately, and Mariel didn't know either. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know either. Well, there's nothing we can do about that. Let's just go to the first place we see. They also had to decide what to buy. Carrying around a bunch of weapons here might not be a problem, but if they were caught with weapons in Japan, they would be arrested. Or should they find a place to store them here? While thinking about such things, Watru held his bag tightly, closing the distance between him and Mariel and Air so they wouldn't get separated, and entered the weapons shop that came into view on the street. Trading Between a Different World and Earth, Volume 1 Chapter 11, sponsored chapter by Patreon. Enjoy. TL. Alt. Chapter 11. The Price of Weapons in Another World. The three of them happened to walk into a weapon shop along the main road, and for a while, they considered buying some items while the shopkeeper explained them to them. However, as time passed, the three of them began to look pale, and when they left the weapon shop, they all staggered, dragging their feet and slumping their shoulders for different reasons. It was so expensive. The prices were amazing. There were many weapons that were more expensive than ours. They were all just for show, and they weren't any good. Mariel was right. Why were the weapons more expensive than you two? Watru could not afford the prices. Mariel was unable to understand the value of weapons that were more expensive than her own selling price, and Air was unable to find a weapon she liked. Although their reasons were different, they were all clearly dissatisfied. The three of them hurried along the main street, trying to avoid the gaze of the shopkeeper who had come out to see them off. For Watru, living in a society of mass production and mass consumption has made the value of things quite low. In a society where individuals produce things by hand, it is not uncommon for the value of things to be higher than that of people. Still, the fact that the weapon was worth more than Mariel and Air, for whom he had already developed feelings, was a difficult feeling to accept. A slave who is so cute, beautiful, and stylish is cheaper than a sword? No way. At least, that's how I feel. In reality, Maso had considerably reduced the price of the two as a learning experience, wanting to deepen her relationship with William. But Watari had no way of knowing that. This place looks like a shop for rich people and nobles. That's right. The exterior was so luxurious that I had a bad feeling when I entered. Isn't Mariel a former noble? Couldn't you tell that before we went in? T/N. This information comes out of nowhere. I was sold as a slave, you know? Even if I was a former noble, I was a low-class noble, and we didn't have the luxury to live like that. Besides, nobles didn't buy things on their own. We were visited by shopkeepers. Is that how it works? I wonder if it's called visiting to inquire about business. In Japan, bankers and department store clerks would visit the homes of wealthy people, so there must be a similar system. As Watru and Mariel discuss this, Air sulks and complains. Besides, it's all about looks, which isn't good. Was it that bad? It will break easily if you fight with it. It's out of the question. So it was the right decision not to buy it. Yes, that's right. She must be really unhappy. The way she walks with heavy footsteps and a stern expression makes passers-by stand back a little. Her tail is really fluffy. Her facial expressions are easy to read, but in Air's case, her tail seems to be a better indicator of her emotions. I guess they didn't show us the really good stuff, did they? Is that so? Yes. I think they probably only show their best products to their regular customers and rich people. So they took advantage of my lack of experience. I feel a little sick. Watru's clothes also seemed out of place to the people in this town, and they wondered whether to treat him as a valued customer or a suspicious character. The fact that the Welcome Trading Company was so honest and helpful made Wataru think even more highly of them. But shouldn't we stop just going to stores that catch our eye? To be honest, I'm not confident that we'll be able to find a shop that satisfies us. I agree. It would be better to ask someone who knows the city. The people in that store kept talking to me, and I didn't like it. It must have been a lot of pressure for Air to choose her own weapon and protect Watru as his bodyguard at the same time. Watru also felt uncomfortable buying expensive items without knowing the market price. After actually visiting the shop and seeing the items, Watru asked Air about his doubts. Speaking of which, the slave trader, Maso-san, recommended Air to me as a bodyguard. But what can Air do? I can use swords and spears, and I'm also good with bows. In fact, I can basically handle any kind of weapon. I was told that I am best suited for bodyguard work and that I should try to sell my skills as a slave. That's amazing. Even I know of Air as a gladiator. She was undefeated and extremely famous for never getting hurt in a fight, no matter who her opponent was, whether it was another gladiator or a monster. I think she was probably one of the most famous fighters in the country. Oh, I remember Maso-san saying something like that. Mariel's words must have touched Air's pride because she puffed out her chest. Wataru couldn't help but stare at the overly large bulge sticking out. I wish she wasn't so defenseless when it comes to eye contact. She's my slave, so I will look after her, but I don't want her to think I'm insensitive, so it's difficult. Wataru, who was thinking about the various things in his mind, spoke up with a question that had arisen even more after listening to the story. Even though you're so strong, you were sold. To be honest, I wonder if the owner of the show was a bad businessman. They brought in famous gladiators and also gathered strong monsters. But they were weak opponents for me. Even so, they were no match for you? Wataru's question makes Air nod. Although he is not bad at physical activity, Wataru, who has not trained to the extent that he can be called an athlete, does not understand Air's strength. If a master could measure Air's strength before a fight, he might be surprised by her power. She just looks like a beautiful, cute girl. They told me to go easy on them, but I'm a fighter, so I didn't hold back in the fight. Then they got angry because they lost a lot of money at the show and sold me. Poor thing. It must have been hard for you. I was so frustrated. I thought it was so unfair that they were angry with me even though I hadn't lost. Looking at Air with her slumped shoulders, he felt sorry for her. It seemed, however, that the gladiatorial shows were set up as gambling, with no entrance fee. The bookmaker would cover the cost of putting on the event and make a profit on the bets. As long as they rented the city's arena to hold the event, the profits would be large, but if they lost, the losses would also be large. Therefore, if Air wins too many times, which should be the biggest bet, the bets won't be settled, and the whole event will be a loss. I see. So it was a loss for both sides because Air was too strong. It's a heartbreaking story. Or perhaps if there had been another gladiator who could rival Air, the fate of the event organizer and Air would have changed greatly. But then I wouldn't have met her, so I guess things worked out for the best. It's not good to take pleasure in other people's misfortune, but he was still genuinely happy to have met Air. At the very least, he would be a master who would make this slave feel happy to have been bought by him. Wataru made up his mind. You're my slave now, and you'll work as my bodyguard, but are you okay with that? I'm fine. I just have to protect you with all my might, so I'm actually quite relieved. I'll protect you with all my might. That's reassuring. Then I'll have to buy you some good weapons. Please do. In order to respect Air's feelings and ensure that she can also protect herself, it will be necessary to provide her with good equipment. The shop they visited earlier had scabbards and handles decorated with jewels, gold and silver, and the skin of special monsters. Even if those decorative items are removed, it still seems like a lot of money. There are also said to be some treasures among the swords, and there are also techniques that can improve the basic performance of weapons, such as increasing their effectiveness and durability. There might have been such techniques in the weapon shop they visited earlier. In that case, the quickest way would be to use the Welcome Trading Company again, both to get the capital and to get the information. However, it would be a little embarrassing to visit it again so soon after yesterday. Trading Between a Different World and Earth, Volume 1 Chapter 12. Enjoy. TL. Alt. Chapter 12. Welcome Trading Company President William's Business Meeting. Welcome Trading Company was a store founded by William. It was a young company that William had started after working as an apprentice, and although he was treated as a green pawn by people in the same business, his reputation was not bad. The name of the company was chosen because it did not discriminate against its customers. William himself came from a poor background, and because of his age, he was often treated with blatant disrespect and not treated as a customer. He felt it was unfair that he couldn't shop like other people, even though he said he would save up and pay. His pride was hurt, and he decided that one day, he would run a store that didn't make people feel that way. He would welcome everyone as a customer with sincerity. With that in mind, he made that his business name so that he would never forget his original intention. Fortunately, William, who had a talent for customer service and calculation, was liked by his mentor and was able to become independent at a young age. From there, he continued to work hard, gradually increasing the number of people he employed, buying slaves, expanding the range of products he handled, and increasing the number of contacts he had for suppliers and sales. While doing business, he also came to understand the reason why the poor were kept away, but he never forgot his original feelings and never stopped trying to increase his fortune. This is my chance. If this business goes well, I'll be able to have a good relationship with the nobles. Now William had a great opportunity. He had obtained sugar of such high quality that it could be called pure white. No other company even handled such a product. The Wellcome Trading Company also handled sugar, but the quality was too different. The sugar that came from overseas through the trade was a darker brown color and had a strong taste, to put it nicely. It could also be said to have a mixed taste. I'm curious to know where he got it. But the important thing is to make sure the trade goes smoothly. Too much greed can lead to disaster. And William had a connection with the local lord, or rather, the local governor, even if it was a tenuous one. There was no way he could pass up that connection. On the day he purchased the goods from Waterloo, he sent a messenger to the local governor's residence and arranged a meeting for the following day. Raise your head. Yes. It's been a while. Thank you for taking the time to see me. Time is precious. Let's get right to the point. I hear you've acquired something valuable. Yes. It's the finest sugar currently available. In the audience room of the governor's mansion, William faced Herodotus, the acting governor. Herodotus was a man of 34 this year, tall with a nervous-looking face. His ability as a governor was so-so, neither good nor bad. He had married in this area and was now the father of 2 children. He was a loving husband, and his wife was the second daughter of a lower-class noble in the central region. William thought back to the information he remembered about the governor. It's been about 5 years since he came to this area, but he hasn't achieved anything significant, so he must be impatient. He can use it to perform at parties in the royal capital, or he can use it as a gift. Either way, he must be dying to get his hands on this item, which he can use for socializing. The audience chamber is not very large. 2 guards stand on either side of the governor, and a table and chairs are set up in front of him. The large table is difficult to get around or climb over, and if knocked over, it can be used as a shield against arrows, so it was made with the governor's safety in mind. Behind the governor, the room was decorated with flags, shields, paintings, and other items that symbolized authority and wealth, arranged to intimidate visitors. Even if it was only for show, the furnishings of a room reveal a person's wealth and character. Herodotus' interior, however, did not intimidate William. William took the sugar he had bought from the bag. Oh, this is sugar, how beautiful. It's as white as pearls or shells. As you can see from its whiteness, it contains no impurities. I see. That is why you asked to see me. Herodotus' eyes stared at the sugar with a sharp look. Since it was before the purchase, of course, he wouldn't let him touch the product. He planned to give it to him according to his request. As expected, he's taking a good bite of it. Sugar is a consumable item, and in order to keep the memory of the nobleman in the central area happy, he needs to buy it many times. Each time, a large amount of money would come into his hands. If he became popular in the central region as well, his sales would probably increase even more. So much. But Herodotus grunted and could be seen doing quick calculations in his head. He was calculating the effective use of this sugar and a rough estimate of how long it would take to get a return. How much would be an acceptable expenditure? He quickly calculated all of this. William spoke to help Herodotus make his decision. This time, I was thinking of taking it to the most famous merchant in the city, the Kantaku Trading Company, but I thought I should show it to you first, Herodotus-sama. No, no. If it catches the eye of that greedy man, he'll raise the price in a heartbeat. So how much is it? Yes, I will sell it to you for 100 gold coins. That's expensive. You must know the general market price of sugar, Lord Governor. I know it's expensive, but I don't think it's exorbitant. Sugar is a commodity that is imported from overseas at great expense. Even ordinary sugar costs a lot of gold. Even if you enjoy it yourself, it costs a lot of money. And if you serve it to others, it costs even more. Therefore, the fact that you have actually achieved this also shows your power and influence. Herodotus, knowing this, does not hide his reluctant expression. I know. But can't you do something about it? That is the only thing we can do. We are in this business, too. I suppose so. Herodotus' irritated reply lacked magnanimity. William thought this was the reason he could not take another step forward as governor. But he was not close enough to him to say so, and he had no obligation or duty to do so. He kept his mouth shut with a soft smile that was characteristic of a merchant. Herodotus, who had been making calculations for a while, finally made a decision and looked him in the eye. His powerful nod told him that the deal was done. Very well. I'll have the money brought to you now. Thank you very much. If you need anything else, please let me know. So you have a regular supply route? That is not certain. However, we are currently negotiating with the person who procured the goods to see if we can make regular purchases. Well, I don't need it today or tomorrow. I plan to show this in the central area. However, depending on the response at that time, I may ask for a larger quantity. We will do our best. If a large amount is needed, a large amount of money can be made, but the preparations also require that amount of money. If the amount cannot be arranged, he will be reprimanded. On the other hand, if the response is slow, William, who ordered the stock first, will suffer a great loss. Although the product is such that it will not be difficult to find a buyer, an ambiguous request that can be accepted either way will be a hindrance to business. On the other hand, he can't just tell the nobles what to do. The fact that such a request was made without hesitation showed that they looked down on the other party. That's why I hate nobles. In some cases, he may have to work hard to raise funds. However, the opportunities are also great. If he plays his cards right, William will be able to join the ranks of the big trading companies. It's not a dream to build a strong relationship with the nobles in the central region. For this reason, it is imperative that the negotiations with Watru-sama be successful. I can't afford to treat him badly. He has already taken some steps, such as facilitating the purchase of slaves. With a deep bow, William began to think about how to negotiate with Wataru. Trading Between a Different World and Earth, Volume 1 Chapter 13. Sponsored chapter by Patreon. Enjoy. TL. Alt. Chapter 13. Visiting the Welcome Trading Company. Since it was his second visit, Wataru was able to observe Welcome Trading Company more calmly and in detail. The previous time, he had just dropped in without any prior knowledge, so he hadn't really been able to take everything in properly. It seemed that the front of the Welcome Trading Company was for customers, and there was a loading area in the back. There was a carriage stop, and several employees were busy loading and unloading goods. The products they handled seemed to be diverse, including dried fruit, miscellaneous goods, lumber, furniture, and furs, and it had the feel of a general store rather than a specialty shop. It's quite a busy place, isn't it? Yes, it is. It's unusual for a shop to be run as a general store rather than a specialty shop. Is that so? Yes. Each specialty shop has a close relationship with its respective artisan guild. Of course, if the amount of business increases, they can also keep the purchase price down. I wonder why they don't do that? I think the shop owner is very particular. They want to become big merchants in the future or something like that. He nodded in agreement with Mariel's explanation. Like clothing stores, there is no doubt that specialty shops are still strong today. There are probably some universal truths that remain the same even when times and places change. On the other hand, there are cases where a business starts as a bookstore and then becomes a global general merchandise mail-order company. When he thinks about this, he wants William to work hard and follow his dreams. Although the store was filled with miscellaneous goods, the premises were kept clean and tidy, and there was no sense of stagnation. In fact, he felt a sense of vitality that accompanied the busyness of the place. The workers didn't seem rude or arrogant, and they all moved energetically and efficiently. Looking at it again, he felt that his intuition in choosing this shop was not bad. Wataru's eyes were drawn to the horse, and he was surprised to see it. He just realized that it looked like a horse, but it wasn't a horse. At first glance, the snorting creature looked like a horse. However, the size of its body, especially its small horns and 6 legs, made it clear that it was not the horse Wataru knew. It's a hippos. From the looks of it, is this the first time you have seen one? Yes. It's amazing. It looks really fast. It is fast and good at pulling heavy loads. Well, I'm better at running. What are you two competing for? Hippos are useful as domestic animals for pulling heavy loads. They're also sometimes used in battle and for delivering messages because they're fast. Looking up at the hippos, stands tall and shows off her impressive figure, but her demeanor is childlike and endearing. Next to her, Mariel is giving a detailed explanation, and that information is useful, too. It looks at me a lot, But won't it bite me? It seems that hippos give a gentle bite to the head of someone they like. I see. They are good creatures if you treat them normally. I used to have one when my family was still a bit wealthy, but it was a very docile creature. By the way, is it a carnivore? No, it's a herbivore. It likes grass and stuff like that. Then I guess I can relax. By the way, would it taste good if you ate it? I've never seen anyone eat it. It's a very large food, and I think it's rather bland. In my village, we eat curso by stewing it until it's very soft. There are creatures that look similar but are slightly different. Perhaps there are also domestic animals that can be crossbred. If he took some fruits back to Earth, he might be able to solve the food problem or create a high-quality fruit. Well, he still doesn't know how to sell it. When Wataru thought about such things and carelessly approached the hippos suddenly opened its mouth quickly and bit Wataru's head. Ugh, it's going to eat me, huh? How much it likes you. It's licking you all over. Hey, stop that. My master will be scared. The hippos let out a loud voice and bit him repeatedly. Although there was no intense pain, the discomfort of having his head covered in saliva and the suddenness of the event left Wataru with no room for anything else. However, he couldn't even move carelessly. Air released a terrifying electric aura of murderous intent, and as if to seize Hippo's mouth, she forcefully opened it wide. The feeling of oppression was gone, and as Wataru bent over in a panic, he staggered away from the spot. Are you all right, Master? Yes. Thanks to you, I wasn't hurt at all. But I'd like to clean up a bit. I'm all sticky. Mariel hastily stood between Hippos and Wataru. Ugh, I feel so sticky and uncomfortable. Wataru said. As Wataru frowned in discomfort, an employee who had noticed the commotion rushed over. Are you okay, sir? Yes, I'm not hurt. But I think I'd like some hot water and a towel. I'm sorry. I'll get them right away. The employee ran around efficiently and had a bucket of hot water and several towels ready in no time. Even though Hippos is usually quiet, it's not normal for it to be so fond of someone it just met for the first time. Is that so? Then maybe the problem was that it happened to like me? Probably. It's because Master smells good. That's why. Is that it? I don't know myself. Maybe it was because he wasn't hurt, or maybe it was because Wataru smiled ironically but not angrily. Despite the accident, time passed peacefully. Back in front of the shop, Wataru and the others entered the Welcome Trading Company. He hoped that he wouldn't be a nuisance by coming in again so soon after yesterday. However, William was smiling and happy to see him, so it was clear that there was no need to worry about that. Wataru-sama, hello, thank you for your help yesterday. I'm sorry to have to visit you again so soon after yesterday. No, it was a very good deal. Also, William's eyes fall on Mariel and Air. Both are beautiful girls who catch everyone's eye, and whoever sees them standing behind him will probably recognize them immediately as slaves. After that, I went to the slave trader, Maso-san, as you recommended, and decided to have them work for me. I see. That's good to hear. Let me introduce them. This is Mariel, who will take care of my daily needs, and Air, who will be my bodyguard. It's a pleasure to meet you. It's a pleasure to meet you. What a lovely pair of young ladies. I am William, head of the Welcome Trading Company. You are both welcome. Mariel and Air bowed deeply and introduced themselves. Wataru was afraid that a beastkin, would not be able to do this, but his fears proved to be unfounded. Air's bow was polite enough to be acceptable in modern Japan. He would later learn that she had been taught manners as a slave. I used your name in Maso-san's shop. I was treated very well. Thank you. I'm glad I could be of help. If you don't mind, would you like to talk in the back room? I've already found a buyer for the sugar. I'd like to report it to you. That's quick. Please do. He probably understood that Wataru had come for a reason. The fact that he was invited so casually made Wataru feel more comfortable. The fact that he was taken to another room was also proof that William had found him to be a suitable business partner. Was the sugar business that important to him? Wataru, who had made this judgment, relaxed a little. Trading Between a Different World and Earth, Volume 1 Chapter 14, sponsored chapter by Patreon. Enjoy. TL. Alt. Chapter 14. 3 options for acquiring weapons and overlooking. In the reception room, There were chairs with magnificent carved designs. The milky white material had a mysterious color that looked like marble or ivory. There was no doubt that they were a masterpiece that William had prepared to entertain his guests. William served tea to Wataru and then took a sip himself. This is a way of saying that there is no poison in it, but Wataru doesn't even have a sense of caution. He drinks the tea served to him without hesitation. It's not black tea, and it has a strange taste. Is it some kind of herbal tea? Even though they are generally called teas, the ingredients are different, and the way they are drunk is also different. The refreshing taste and the aroma rising to the nose were pleasant. It's really delicious. The aroma is nice. I'm glad you like it. Some people add jam or sugar to it, depending on their tastes. Does everyone drink this tea? Yes, everyone from the common people to the nobility drinks it. However, the common people only drink it with sugar on special occasions. And even then, it's usually quite a strong-tasting sugar. He probably explained it to Wataru, who was a foreigner, on purpose. Such small considerations are very much appreciated. Nothing is more likely to cause him to accidentally step on a landmine than the subtle differences in daily life and customs. In some countries, the gestures for come here and go away are completely opposite, or, if you don't know the rules, you might do something that would make the Japanese angry, like walking into a Japanese house with your shoes on. The white sugar I bought from you, Wataru-sama, was bought by the governor of this town. It will probably be used later at banquets for the nobles of the royal capital. That's really fast, considering it was just yesterday. It was a high-quality, valuable item. Thanks to this, I was able to make a good deal. Now, let's continue this another time. But what is it you wanted to ask me this time, Wataru-sama? I wanted to buy some weapons for heir. As Wataru explained the situation, William nodded slightly. He must have understood many of the details. Afterward, he asked for advice on how to get the weapons. William readily agreed to help. I don't deal with weapons, so I can only give you my opinion as a merchant, but is that okay? That's fine. Thank you very much. There are a couple of ways to do this. One is to ask the blacksmiths in this city. There should be a district with a number of workshops where the blacksmiths who generally work with weapons are located. There is such a place? Yes. There are also workshops that supply the Adventurers Guild, so there should be some stock. It's good that you can buy the actual item from the workshop. However, some items are made to order, so it might take a little time. Also, since spears are not made by specialized blacksmiths, they may be able to adjust the handle to suit you, but the quality may be inferior. I see. It would be nice if there were a master blacksmith. If there was someone like that, I would have heard of him, even if I was in another field. Merchants are all about things, but at least I've never heard of them. I see. The fact that things have settled down in this city might be a big advantage for Wataru. Now that he's unfamiliar with the common sense of this world and has no basis for living, it's not a bad idea to focus his activities on this city without expanding his activities too quickly. But what about the fact that the quality is not very good? Their warrior heir, who was said to be very famous, showed a certain commitment to weapons. For now, Wataru will wait for the next option without interrupting to hear the rest of the story and make a decision. After William moistened his mouth with tea, he continued his explanation. The second option is to travel to a nearby town. You can take a boat down the river and then take a carriage to the west, about today's walk, and there is a village there that is reasonably well known for its weapon forging. It's called Fiskar's Village. If you're looking for quality, it's probably your best bet. Is there a problem? I don't know what the price will be for custom production. Also, I don't have any experience buying or selling in the past, so I can't rely on my connections. If you don't have time to make it, I guess you could buy a product that's already made and ready to go in the store. That requires moving around. But if he's going to pay anyway, he wants something good. Weapons are necessary for self-defense, so if he spares the money and time here and is unable to work properly, he will have to bear the consequences himself. Even today, Japan is the safest country in the world, but in some countries like Brazil, there are areas where murder is a common occurrence. This world didn't seem as safe as Japan. Otherwise, William wouldn't have warned him at their first meeting. Wataru looked at Air sideways. Air didn't move a muscle and listened to the explanation with serious eyes. Her innocent appearance was gone, and she showed her warrior side. She can also make that kind of face. The third option is to travel up the river to the royal capital. The royal capital? In terms of variety and quality, the royal capital might be the best. However, of course, there will be some shops that are better than others, and the prices may be even higher. There are merchants in the royal capital who do business with us, so it is possible to ask them for directions. Master, in that case, I know the general area, so I don't think we'll get lost. Mariel's addition was also attractive, considering the fact that they could also go sightseeing in the capital and visit other shops. It seemed even better. However, the possibility of it being more expensive meant that even if they paid the same amount, they would be buying a lower quality product. If he wanted to buy really good quality products, he would either have to spend a lot of money, or there was a possibility that he wouldn't be able to buy the products at all. Also, going to a busy and unfamiliar place would inevitably increase the possibility of getting into trouble. All of these have their pros and cons, so it's hard to choose. In the end, I think these are the three options I can suggest. It was really easy to understand, so thank you. I'm glad I could help. He thanked William, who nodded and smiled broadly. He was very grateful for his attitude of taking the time to help him even if it wouldn't lead to sales for him. Wataru drank some tea for a while and tried to collect his thoughts. But when he saw Air holding her breath and waiting for Wataru to speak, he realized that he had overlooked something important. He had not asked her, who was about to become the owner, how she felt about it. Hey, Air, which one do you think is best? Tell me your thoughts. Hanyanyanya. Air, who had been asked the question, let out a stunned voice, perhaps because she had not expected it. Trading Between a Different World and Earth, Volume 1 Chapter 15. Enjoy. TL, Alt. Chapter 15, Air's Decision. If there's anything to say, Air didn't have high expectations of her master, Wataru, when she saw him for the first time. He seemed nice, and she didn't think that he would treat her badly. He wasn't a bad person, but he didn't seem to be an extremely good person either. So, as a slave, she would at least fulfill her duties as an escort to the extent that she wouldn't lose the pride of her tribe. The more she expected, the more disappointed she would be later. That's what she thought. It's up to Air to decide. Me? Am I allowed to answer? Yes, of course. You're the one involved. Your status as a slave or whatever is irrelevant now. All right. I understand. Good, I'm counting on you. When Wataru asked Air for her decision, she was very surprised. It's not often that a master asks for the slave's opinion. Usually, they just give orders, especially Air's former employer, who would even force her to fight unwillingly, telling her to hold back or pretend to fight. She wondered if the humans would understand the pride of the Golden Tiger tribe. It was enough to make her distrust them, to make her think that she could trust no one but her own kind. She wondered if it was really okay to say this, if they wouldn't be angry at her for making such a selfish request. She didn't want to give up hope, but she also didn't want to be given hope so easily. Air hesitates, trying to express her opinion with a trembling mouth. Her demeanor is far from the innocent one of a short time ago, I think. Excuse me, may I have a word? Mariel, I'm just asking Air for her opinion. What's wrong? I think we should also include the weapons Air used in the past as candidates. I've heard that she was used to handling weapons from her time as a gladiator who fought in the arena. Ah, I hadn't thought of that. Was Air a swordsman? Yes, that's right. Wataru's casual question made Air tremble. She was filled with a mixture of emotions, pride as a warrior, anger at her situation as a slave, and disappointment at her own words and actions that had led to her current situation. She was unable to speak clearly. Wataru, perhaps sensing something was wrong with Air's attitude, asked her a question with concern. Is it a weapon that has a special meaning for you? It was a sword given to the bravest warrior of the clan. But when I became a slave, I think it was sold to pay off a debt. The man who organized the event took it away. I see. That must have been hard. I'm sorry. He stroked her head gently, and she felt like crying. Her beloved sword, Tiger Ice, which she had trusted and used to overcome many dangers, was like half of her body. With this sword and her own skill, she could defeat any enemy and overcome any difficulty. She was once full of such confidence. When she fell into slavery despite her undefeated record and when she lost her beloved sword, Air's pride was wounded twice. And now one of them is about to be restored. Do you wish to have your weapon back, or would you prefer to have a new one made from one of the three options I mentioned earlier? I will respect your decision. She wants it back. The sword that was sold to someone else, she wants it back in her hands. However, her weapon, which is said to be a great sword, must be very expensive. It's possible that it's worth more than Air, who has fallen into slavery, like those weapons in the weapon shop that she gave up on buying. Can she ask Wataru for such a thing when he seems to be short of money right now? Air didn't know. Air looked at Wataru and tried to read his expression. Wataru smiled and nodded deeply. Don't be shy. Just tell me what you want. I am your master, so I will make the decision. I'm listening to your opinion, so just answer me honestly. I want it back. I want to regain the pride of our clan, the pride of the warriors. You have spoken well. I promise you. I'll get your sword back for you, master. When Wataru stroked her head, Air hugged him tightly. Wataru was not particularly strong, but she felt his strength and warmth as a person. This person understands my feelings, she thought. Wataru's reliable appearance almost made her cry. I am glad, Air. You'll get it back. Yes. It seems that the decision to recommend Wataru-sama to buy a slave was the right one. Mariel pats Air gently on the shoulder. She was not only blessed with a kind master but also with a good colleague. Being reduced to slavery was not a happy thing, but even in this misfortune, there was happiness. She tried her best to live but was scolded for it. She felt that she had disgraced the family and given up everything, but maybe it was because she had found a master who understood her. The Golden Tiger tribe swears allegiance to their acknowledged master and fights until the end of their lives. Once they trust someone, they never betray or doubt them. They put their trust in them. It's too early to trust him that much, but Air began to think that Wataru might be the right person to be her master. If Wataru really manages to get the sword back. Wataru turns to William with a serious expression on his face. William-san, is there any way to find out what happened to Air's beloved sword? That's right. If you go back to Maso-san, I think you'll be able to find out who it was sold to and who bought it. I see. So there are connections to those who bought it. William nodded at Wataru's comment. It seems that getting it back might not be so difficult after all. Hope began to rise. There is a high possibility that it ended up in the hands of a merchant, a collector, or a noble. If you want, I can write to them. Whether she can buy it back or not, she will at least listen to what you have to say. Thank you very much. But you've been taking care of me since the slave trader thing. Is that okay? Of course. But I'm a merchant, so please don't think that I'm an infinitely good person who provides the same service to everyone. I don't want to get into trouble because of strange rumors and crowds of shameless people coming to me. I appreciate your kindness. Wataru bowed deeply. Her master bowed for her. When she saw that, Air thought she would swear her allegiance to this strange but kind man who bowed for a slave who had not yet done anything for him. There must be many evil people in the world who would try to take advantage of this kindness. After William finished writing the letter on the spot, he handed it to Wataru. However, Wataru gave the letter to Air. Air was surprised and opened her eyes wide when she received the letter. Please give that to Maso-san. Air, that is an important letter. You have to keep it, okay? Thank you, William-san. I understand. I won't let go of it. Well, there's no need to feel indebted to me. I also wanted to consult with you, Wataru-sama. What is it? I have been indebted to you up to this point, and I would like to cooperate as much as I can. This time, William began to ask for advice. William, who had previously had kind eyes, now had a dignified expression on his face. Air swallowed her saliva. This merchant doesn't carry a weapon, but he's an experienced warrior who fights a different kind of battle than I do. Air didn't understand how the merchant fought with his eyes, mouth, and brain. But she could tell the difference between an amateur and a skilled person she should be wary of by the atmosphere they exuded. It was the beginning of Wataru and William's second business meeting, Trading Between a Different World and Earth, Volume 1 Chapter 16. T/N. My apologies if there are any mistakes, because I don't really have a good understanding of business transactions like this either. Sponsored chapter by Patreon. Enjoy. TL. Alt. Chapter 16, Long-Term Sugar Contract Part 1. William explains the details of the deal to the local governor. He will demonstrate at a party in the capital and, depending on the response, he hopes to increase the volume of the deal quickly. Sugar has many uses. It is used in tea, of course, but it is also used in large quantities in sweets. The nobles are often very impatient, and if I'm slow to respond, my head could be on the line. Wow, Your life's on the line? If it's something you don't have, you can't make it appear just by waving your sleeve. That's right. Some of them are brilliant, but many of them are unforgiving towards the common people. William makes a gesture of cutting off his own head with his hand. He tries to speak cheerfully with a smile, but the reality is probably quite harsh. Watru listened to the story with a gasp and thought it was a terrible situation. So you're saying that there's a possibility that a large amount of sugar will be needed? Yes. The next time a large amount of sugar is needed, how much will you be able to prepare? It depends on the number, but about 100 bags, I think. 100 bags? Not 10? Why yes. It might take a little time to transport, though. With the amount of Japanese yen he had in his possession looking like it was going to be tight, he would have to make some money somehow if he was going to be able to prepare a substantial amount of sugar. In this sense, Watru had expressed his opinion in a reserved manner, but William, who had maintained a smile on his face until then, had his eyes widened in surprise on this day. This was the reaction he had when he heard an answer he had not expected at all. Oh no, I think I might have messed up. From Watru's point of view, he had given a modest amount, but in terms of value here, it would be the equivalent of a huge pile of gold coins, not a small pile. I don't want to doubt you, but is this definitely an amount you can prepare? I think it will be fine. However, I can't guarantee that there won't be any unforeseen accidents. Well, even if you try to avoid attacks from monsters and bandits, you're bound to run into them at some point. You can't help but accept that. There is no guarantee when the gate to the Jizo statue and shrine will close. It was difficult to make a definite promise, but now that we've reached a certain level of agreement, I think that's good enough. There was a slight discrepancy between the problem that Watru imagined and the problem that William imagined. However, the result was the same, so there was no need to correct it. More importantly, he was able to hear information about the possibility of being attacked by monsters and bandits. The importance of Air's weapons has increased even more. I want to get something now, even if it's just a stick. With this, we will definitely be able to fully satisfy their demands. It is also a great opportunity for me to expand my sales channels. Will it sell that well? Yes. The nobles are very proud. Of course, this is also an important political force. Therefore, they will not spare any expense. However, as I said before, it is very difficult to pay in gold coins all at once as compensation. Of course, as long as gold is used to mint gold coins, there will be a limit to the amount of money that can be produced. Even with paper money, 100 million yen would be about 10 kilograms, wouldn't it? Even if you were given several hundred gold coins at once, he would probably have trouble carrying and storing them because they would be too heavy and bulky. It looks like there's nothing to worry about in terms of procurement. If that's the case, there is one problem. Is it the thing you talked about yesterday about securing cash from procurement to sale? Yes. 10 gold coins for 1 bag of sugar. This time, the negotiations will go far beyond that. If the last time, the deal was worth 10 million yen, this time, it will be worth 100 million or even 1 billion yen. He has no real sense of the large sums of money he has never dealt with before. Until a few days ago, he was struggling to pay tens of thousands of yen in municipal taxes. Normally, when dealing with such large sums of money, it's limited to merchants and nobles. In such cases, it's common to use bills issued by guilds or the government, but you, Watru-sama, work as an individual, don't you? That is correct. I'm not a member of any guild in this country. And I've never done any exchange business. Although he hadn't told William anything concrete, he knew some of the circumstances. Watru decided that it would be better to avoid misunderstandings by hiding things. A bill of exchange is like an IOU that says when payment will be made. However, loans are not made between individuals but by organizations such as banks and commercial guilds. When it is between merchants, there is a huge advantage to being able to do large-scale business without having to carry cash around by exchanging notes with each other. Note transactions are not something anyone can do. In modern Japan, if a bank decides that it is safe to handle the transaction, taking into account things like the financial situation, then the transaction can be done. In a sense, it is proof that a third party has given its trust. If that's the case, it will take some time for you to wait from when I receive the goods to when I can cash them. Is it difficult for individuals to pay by bill? No, it is not difficult for us to give you the bill. The problem is that it takes time and effort for you to convert the bill into cash. Well, is there anything we can do about that? If it's a bill, the general method of cashing it is to take it to the commercial guild of which Welcome Trading Company is a member. However, this will only be done after the date written on the bill, and basically, no advance payment will be made. So, from Welcome Trading Company's point of view, it's as if they're saying that they'll definitely have the money ready by a certain date, so please wait a little longer. If Wataru wants to get the money before the due date, he will have to use bill discounting. This is a method where he asks the guild to collect the money because he wants it before the due date. The guild or exchange company will take the risk of collecting the money, so the payment will be deducted. Unless Wataru suddenly needs a large sum of money for some reason, or he hears that Welcome Trading Company is suddenly in financial trouble, there is no point in going to the trouble of cashing the bill before it is due. If Welcome Trading Company is unable to provide the promised money by the due date, it will be what is commonly referred to as a bounced bill. The guild's confidence in the merchant will be greatly diminished, and they will be denied credit or have their credit recalled, which will have a major negative impact on future transactions. Therefore, in this case, the bill can basically be cashed without a problem. Are you planning to join the guild? If you need it, I can make a recommendation to the guild on your behalf. I'm not thinking about it right now. There seem to be a lot of advantages, such as trust, but I want to enjoy my free position for a while longer. I see. Then can we only pay what we can for the first transaction, and for the next and further transactions, can we pay as much as possible in cash and ask you to wait for the rest? William said with a determined expression as if he was asking Wataru for his decision. Trading Between a Different World and Earth, Volume 1 Chapter 17. Enjoy. TL. Alt. Chapter 17, Long-Term Sugar Contract Part 2. To get more out of William, Wataru could have tried to take advantage of the fact that he couldn't pay him immediately and tried to get as much as he could out of him. But he didn't want to be that greedy. William had been very kind to him, even though he didn't know right from left. He didn't want to repay his kindness with ingratitude. William's money could not just be used for sugar. There were various businesses, and they were mostly trading companies for the common people, not dealing with nobles. There must have been a limit to the funds that could be used at one time. It must have been quite an unpleasant request for William. He wanted to pay for the goods in advance, but not having the money to do so, even if it was customary among merchants, was a matter of honor. Nevertheless, he swallowed his pride and took a practical approach to a major transaction with a nobleman. Wataru respects this attitude. As for me, I'm satisfied with the details of the contract. I'm indebted to you, William-san. I am truly grateful. If there are problems with paying for 100 units at once, how about 10 or 20 at a time? Then I'll accept your offer and buy 10 first. That amount can be bought with the money we have in the store and the money we get from the governor. We'll buy everything with that. He wanted to put all the profit into the next purchase. You could say he was quite enthusiastic. For Wataru, it was a cheap product with no initial investment, but for William, it was a huge investment. He was so nervous that sweat was pouring down his face. Once the buyer is officially decided, we will ask the nobleman to pay 50% of the price in advance, and from then on, we will pay as much as possible in cash. If there is still a balance that cannot be paid, can we pay it next time? There is no problem on my part. Let's get a notary and draw up a contract right away. This will definitely be a big deal. If people from the royal capital, the whole country, and even other countries come to buy, we could have hundreds or even thousands of transactions every month. Haha. I'm looking forward to it. What, Trusama? I'm not joking or telling a funny story. Are you serious? Sugar is a consumable. It's not something you buy once, and then you're done. I think it's a battle we have a good chance of winning. If we do it right, we'll be rich overnight. I'm looking forward to it. The stress must be great, but the dream is also great. As he spoke, William's face flushed with both excitement and nervousness. Wataru was not as impressed. William, who had spent many years pouring his heart and soul into expanding his own business, must have been filled with anticipation and joy at the prospect of growing his business. At that moment, a great change occurred in the eyes of the two slaves watching the business negotiations. Hey, Mariel. Do you think our master is a pretty amazing person? Yes, you know his house is amazing, right? Not only that, but he seems to be a very talented merchant. William-san has a wonderful shop and is a very capable person. Our master deals with such a merchant as an equal. Wow. He's kind, and he said he'd buy my sword back, so I guess we were bought by a good person." "Yes, that's right." Mariel and Air, who had been silently watching the two men's negotiations from behind, now spoke in low voices. The voices were so low that the two men in the middle of their negotiations could not hear what they were saying. Still, the eyes of the two slaves were fixed on Wataru, and they began to show signs of respect. As William had said, a notary was called in to ensure that the contract was concluded quickly, and a contract was given to both Wataru and William. As usual, he filled in the signature, which no one but Wataru could read. Normally, the buyer would be in a higher position. But since William had brought such an attractive product, he treated Wataru very politely. Now that he had received such a favor, he wanted to return it in kind, even though it was just a merchant's calculation. He didn't feel bad about it. Wataru immediately ordered Air to put the sugar packs he had stuffed into his bag on the table. He knew that he was being hasty, but he had brought a large amount just in case. "This is the amount you will receive for this purchase. Please accept it." "Wow, it's quite heavy. And it's quite bulky, too. This is the first time I've paid this much to a single person." The gold coins that were handed over numbered 100. They weighed about 3 to 4 kilograms. Each coin was the size of a 500 yen coin, and they were quite bulky when not neatly arranged in a bag. As always, they were dazzling, and the brightness was almost painful to the eyes. "So this is 100 million yen. Master, should I carry it?" "Sure, but are you sure you can handle it?" "No problem. This is easy for me." Wataru was surprised by the weight, which would make his arms ache if he had to carry it for a long time, but he was even more surprised when Air lifted it like a feather and put it into the bag. Wataru had thought that a warrior's strength came from their skills and reflexes, but even in simple physical strength, Air was far stronger than Wataru. The physical strength of a beastkin could not be seen on the outside, and the structural strength of the muscle fibers and ligaments had been increased. "When should I bring them in next?" "You'll have to wait a while. I'll let you know when I need it." "Ah. I'll probably be busy for a while trying to buy back Air's sword." Since Wataru didn't have a regular in here, he didn't want to be searched for. He had no choice but to mumble his words. "I'll appear frequently." "I understand. Our shop welcomes customers anytime, so please feel free to drop by." It seemed as if he had guessed something. But William didn't press the matter any further. Wataru was satisfied with this feeling of distance. At this point, Wataru's heart was warm again, and he felt more confident. Even with the 10 gold coins he had last time, he had spent it all at once to buy 2 slaves. This time, he had 10 times as much. In a way, it was only natural that Wataru would immediately think about how to spend it. "If I wait for the Welcome Trading Company to pay me, the problem will get even bigger, won't it? How about I buy something here to make up for the payment?" "That's an offer we can't refuse. Is there anything you'd like to buy?" "I'd like to get some clothes and bags for Mariel and Air, and I was thinking I'd like to buy a few things for myself as well." "You just bought a slave. But even so, the calculation is that you will have to buy a considerable amount." "I can't say for sure because I haven't seen the actual item, but I want to get my living situation in order to a certain extent at this time. So I would like to be as generous as possible." "Then may I show you the proud products of our store? I will guide you." With 1 bag of sugar, he was able to get a large amount of money worth nearly 10 million yen. He had made 100 million yen from this transaction, and he had also made arrangements to receive large sums of money on an ongoing basis. He wanted to spend the money and buy the things he needed. Even in the simple clothes given to them by the slave trader, the beauty of Mariel and Air stood out. Even in their natural state, beautiful women are pleasant to look at because of their good natural qualities. Buy the clothes and underwear that Mariel and Air need and continue to dress up these beautiful women. How beautiful will they become? If there's something good for himself, Wataru will also buy it without hesitation. And if there's something that might sell in Japan, I want to find it, too. Selling rare items that can only be obtained in another world in Japan. If it goes well, he can get rich in Japan and buy various products to sell back here. Wataru was already looking forward to seeing the actual products. Trading Between a Different World and Earth, Volume 1 Chapter 18. Sponsored chapter by Patreon. Enjoy. TL. Alt. Chapter 18. inside the store. William and Wataru left the reception room and moved to the product sales area. This was a different location from the counter where their first meeting had taken place. The store was much larger than Wataru had imagined. There were countless shelves lined up in a room that looked like a large warehouse, and all the shelves were filled with products. However, perhaps because the products were neatly organized into categories, there was no sense of disorder. The counter seemed to be the same system as the storefront, with a clear division between the customer and employee areas. Wow, so this is what it's like inside. This is the area for customers who buy in bulk, and it's also where we store our stock. Basically, customers who buy small amounts or small quantities are asked to buy from the front counter. Oh, I see. But there's an amazing amount of products here. Even Wataru, who had seen many shops in modern Japan, was somewhat surprised by the sheer volume of products on display. Of course, it's nothing compared to a large hardware store, but for a small store, it's a top-notch selection. For a general merchandise store, the selection is also very diverse, and it seemed to have everything from small knickknacks to very large ornaments. These are products that I've collected over many years. I've been constantly replacing and increasing the amount of items I have in stock to meet the needs of my customers as much as possible. Wow, they are so beautiful. I've never seen so many different colors. Don't you ever use stores like this? I don't really shop much. I see. Well, let's have fun today. Yeah. What surprised Mariel and was the richness of the colors. Although many of the tableware items were in muted tones, the shelves lined with clothing and accessories were so full of color that they could almost be made into a colorful picture book. As Mariel had said before, she didn't seem to have much experience in visiting stores, so she looked around curiously, her eyes wandering from side to side as she observed the items. On the other hand, stood with her eyes wide open, her nose twitching and her tail wagging. I could prepare the goods myself, but I think I'll ask my wife to do it. Oh, that might make it easier to talk about. I didn't know you had a wife, William-san. I'm a father of 3, you know. Really? Well, I guess that's normal for the head of a respectable trading company. They're all mischievous and cute. Satisfied with the reaction of Wataru and the others, William quickly called one of his employees. Then he left the room to find his wife. Wataru was about to wait idly when approached him and spoke to him happily. Her eyes shone with curiosity and anticipation. Hey, master, are you going to buy us some clothes? That's right. Hey, that's not very polite. What, you don't want it, Mariel? I didn't say that. I want a change of clothes and some new clothes, too. You can buy whatever you want here. Thank you, master. I love you. Came running over and hugged him, and Wataru was very excited. His left side was enveloped in a soft, squishy feeling. It was like being wrapped in a warm, squishy marshmallow. Wow, it's really squishy. You can buy as much as you want. Wow, you're so generous, master. We, the Golden Tiger tribe, love reliable men. I see. His arms were completely wrapped around her large breasts. Since was the one who hugged him, Wataru didn't resist and just let himself be hugged, enjoying the feeling. I feel like I'm being manipulated somehow, but who cares? I wanted to buy something nice for them anyway. When you think about it, it's just a perk of the job. It was Mariel, not Wataru, who panicked. After a moment's hesitation, she took the other arm and pulled him close, seeing the look of satisfaction on her master's face. Gosh, you are too unrestrained, master. What, is that my fault? Yes, you're making a really sloppy face. Sorry. I'll be more careful. How about a serious face? How about this one? It's not fixed at all. Master, you're smiling very nicely. It feels good on both sides. It smells good, too. He was glad that William had left the room to get someone. After a short time, the blissful moment was over. It was not a good attitude to have in front of William and the staff. He shook his arm gently and spoke with a calm face. William's wife, Sandy, who had come out from behind the shelves when William had called her, was a very attractive woman. She looked to be in her 30s. She had slightly droopy eyes and a natural smile that seemed to be a constant feature of her face, giving her a soft, enveloping atmosphere. She was a good contrast to William, who exuded a certain energy as a merchant, and it seemed as if they complemented each other. This is Wataru-sama. He is an important guest, so please be careful not to be rude. I understand. It's nice to meet you. My name is Sandy. Nice to meet you. I'm Wataru Sakai. You are very beautiful, aren't you, Master? There's a big bug on you. That's right. Foo-fa-foo, I'll show you around right now. Please have a seat here. I didn't try to seduce a married woman. Is that jealousy? He rubbed his hand with teary eyes as a terrible pain ran down his side. When he turned around, Mariel was staring at him with a smile, and it was frightening. Air gave him a cool look, but he couldn't understand why he was being treated so badly. Your nose got quite long, but do you like older women? Master likes women. He also likes breasts. Air, it seems that even with 2 girls around, our master still can't get enough. No, that's not it. I'm not the kind of guy who would flirt with a woman like that, even if she was married. I wonder. They continued to argue quietly, but soon, a staff member brought them chairs, and they sat down. After all, this was not a conversation to continue in front of other people. They changed their minds and focused on shopping. Sandy, who was standing behind the counter, asked them a question without breaking her smile. Can I ask you about your budget and what you are looking for? Something appropriate. Something of good quality that won't stand out too much. I understand. Wataru himself doesn't have any strong preferences when it comes to clothes. However, it's better not to stand out too much. And he wants to use something of the highest quality. These conditions are essential for working in this city, so they became the criteria for making a decision. Wataru's lack of particularity must have gotten through to Sandy because she gave a light-hearted answer. If you have any good clothes, bags, rings, or necklaces for Mariel and Air, that would be great. Mariel will be taking care of my personal needs, and Air will be working as my bodyguard. Oh, and as you can see, she's a beastkin, so please take that into consideration as well. I see. Then, it's important to consider Air-san's ease of movement, tail, and ears. Is it okay if she wears casual clothes? Yes. Some pajamas and underwear will also be good. For now, please don't worry about the budget. If it's really difficult, we can discuss it. I understand. They are very beautiful women, so they deserve to be well dressed. When she heard that there was no budget limit, Sandy's expression changed for a moment, but she nodded without asking any further questions. Maybe it was because she had heard what William had said, but Wataru never thought that he would be able to say something like that. For once, he was able to say what he wanted to say, and he felt much better. Trading Between a Different World and Earth, Volume 1 Chapter 19, Sponsored Chapter by Patreon. Enjoy. TL, Alt. Chapter 19, Mariel's Change of Clothes. Many clothes are taken down from the shelves and placed on the counter by the staff. There are many neatly folded one-piece dresses and skirts that are rather plain in terms of decoration. But if you look at another pile, you will also see very elaborate dresses with jewels and embroidery scattered throughout. I think the ones with a lot of decoration are good for formal wear, and the ones with less decoration are good for everyday wear. Please start with the one for you, Mariel. Why yes, thank you. I look forward to it. I think most colors will go well with your long silver hair. I think a light color would suit your mood. If you are going to work as a personal attendant, you should probably choose a skirt or pants with few frills. That's right. For me, I want to put the work first. That's not enough. If possible, I want to walk around with Mariel and Air dressed up and looking pretty. That's what he said, right? Yes. I understand. If they're going to walk together, he wants to be with a woman who looks beautiful. Wataru had 2 feelings. The desire of a man to be with a woman who looks beautiful and the desire for his slave to be beautiful regardless of her status, so he wanted her to wear nice clothes without worrying about it. Mariel looked happy and embarrassed as she lowered her head. Sandy and Mariel continued to discuss which clothes to choose. It is often said that choosing clothes for women takes a long time, but their interaction was quite precise and quick. They quickly determined the necessary requirements and immediately decided which ones to choose. Wataru wondered if this had something to do with the fact that Mariel used to be the daughter of a nobleman. Once she made up her mind, she didn't seem to be confused about how to place her order. She picked up a few items and, at Sandy's urging, went into the fitting room. Maybe some of the clothes need help putting on instead of just being worn alone. But even though this is a general store, they have fitting rooms? I wonder what she'll come out with. I'm looking forward to it, too. I'm sure Mariel will look beautiful. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. Hey, Don't set the bar too high. Mariel's impatient voice could be heard through the thin wall of the dressing room. They exchanged looks and laughs, but they were really looking forward to it. Sorry to keep you waiting. Mariel came out of the room and called Wataru. She walked very shyly, with hesitant steps. She wore a pale pink dress. The dress was tied at the waist with a thin cord, making her breasts look even larger. Wataru's eyes were naturally drawn to her breasts, and her waist was very narrow, which stood out in contrast. What Wataru noticed most was the position of the waistband. He was amazed at the difference between himself and her since it was at such a high position. Wow, Mariel is beautiful. Thank you, How is it, Master? Yes. It's really beautiful. I'm glad you like it. This is bad. Wataru can't really look into her eyes. Even though the original was already outstanding, when she's dressed so beautifully, she looks even more beautiful. His tongue suddenly got stuck, and he began to stutter. Mariel's reaction to Wataru's, smiling happily and seemingly pleased, was so endearing that he wanted to hug her right then and there. Had there been no one around, he might have hugged her impulsively. A simple dress with few ornaments. The skin was only slightly exposed, but the lines of the body were clearly visible. The slender legs were visible from the middle of the thighs, accentuating the good figure. The small bag slung over her shoulder has a bumpy texture like crocodile skin, and the opening is tied with a string. Wataru was deeply satisfied with the impeccable choice and decided to buy it. Sandy-san, I'll buy this. Please try other combinations as well. Thank you for your quick purchase. Since that's the case, why don't we try different patterns? Yes. I'm really looking forward to seeing what kind of beautiful figure will be revealed. Wataru told Sandy what he expected to see, and she immediately prepared the next combination and encouraged Mariel to try it on. There were several simple dresses, casual clothes for home, and a maid's uniform for service. After showing off the various outfits, Sandy picked up the next dress with a smile on her face. Am I really going to wear this? Don't worry, you'll be fine. Look, you've made everyone wait in anticipation, so if you don't hurry up and put it on, you'll bore them, won't you? Wawa, please don't rush me like that. I mean, isn't it too revealing? You want to catch your master's eye, don't you? Come on, do your best. You are. Mariel's voice sounded a bit impatient, but Wataru had the mercy not to say anything. If I say something unnecessary now, I'm sure I'll be frowned upon. But what kind of outfit will she be wearing? Judging from the way she panicked, it must be a very sexy outfit. Thinking about it, Wataru has a slightly naughty fantasy. He waits quietly for Mariel to come out, trying not to let his expression show. It seems as if she had problems getting ready for a while, but Mariel slowly opens the door and comes out. At first, she only shows her face, but it's bright red, and her eyes are moist. Mariel was wearing a black dress with a slit. It was held up at 3 points, the shoulder straps, the back, and the waist, but it was very revealing. Her shoulders were completely exposed, and her back was boldly cut out to her shoulder blades and around her waist. Her large breasts were squeezed in, and the chest was supported to emphasize the deep cleavage. Wow! A gasp of admiration escaped Wataru's mouth completely unconsciously. Perhaps out of embarrassment, Mariel stared at Wataru with tearful eyes and asked for his impressions. Wataru-sama is so surprised by this that he is at a loss for words, isn't he? What do you think? I think it's okay to have an opinion about it since I feel so embarrassed. It's so beautiful. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. Wow, Mariel is so cool. You look like a princess. Mariel-san seems embarrassed, so should we wait to buy it? I'll buy this. Fufu, thank you for your purchase. Mariel must have been happy despite her embarrassment at Wataru's stunned look. She was annoyed by Sandy's teasing, but she didn't deny buying the dress. Trading Between a Different World and Earth, Volume 1 Chapter 20. Enjoy. TL. Alt. Chapter 20. Heir's change of clothes. Now that Mariel's clothes were ready, it was time to buy Heir's. It's easy to move in. Do you have a favorite color? Black. And green is good, too. Heir's requests were very simple. She was following her tribe's instincts, such as being able to blend in as a bodyguard and being inconspicuous at night. Her requests were so simple that it was difficult to narrow down the options, and Sandy seemed to be under a lot of pressure. If there are any accessories that would improve her physical abilities, please show them as well. Understood. I'll think of something that simply emphasizes the quality of the material. She moved quickly without making a single unpleasant face, even when Wataru spoke from the side. Several more candidates were taken from the shelf, and she and Air went to the fitting room. Mariel, who had already decided on her own, seemed to be in a pretty good mood and was smiling. As expected, being a woman, she must like shopping places, right? Even for Wataru, this seemed to be his first time shopping in another world. Even while he was waiting to choose, his interest was piqued, and he didn't feel like he was waiting at all. Hey. Am I really going to wear this? Really? Well, it really suits you, so let's try it. Do you think I can? Wataru was speechless when he saw Air coming out of the fitting room, looking unsure of herself. The tights were made of smooth, shiny black leather. They were elastic, and the contours of Air's well-defined body were accentuated, perfectly complementing the overall effect. Wataru was at a loss for words but forced himself to praise her. Yes. It's really beautiful, and I think it suits you. Wow, that's a bit unfair for a beastkin with such a good style. I was confident in my own style, too. Mariel is a very beautiful woman, too. But I think this is a different class of beauty. It was a compliment without being flattering. Her long, silky golden hair, her suit that seemed to burst from the tension in her chest, and her slender waist that made you think, she's a cat type, all added up to a figure that was unmistakably feline. Her long legs stretched from her large pelvis and hips, giving the impression of agility. In a way, Air's style has an unrealistic beauty that seems structurally impossible for a normal human being. It's like a sculpture or a figure with an accentuated beauty, or a beauty that seems to have undergone extreme image processing. Air, who had been worried about the reaction, looked into Wataru's eyes, and her pupils flickered. "Enna, is something wrong?" No, it really suits you. It really does. Is that so? He. It makes Air happy to see my master so happy. You're really cute when you're honest like that. Really? Am I cute? Yes, you are. Nyafafafu, Anya, Nii. Her face turned bright red, and she started to blush, and she was not only beautiful but also cute. She tried to hide her face with her hands many times, probably because she was embarrassed, but her ears were flapping, and her tail was wagging, so her feelings were obvious. Wataru's heart was pounding, blood rushed to his head, and Air looked more attractive than ever. I bought her on impulse, like love at first sight, but I think I'm really falling in love with her. Wataru was already crazy about her, but he felt himself becoming more and more attracted to her. Considering the possibility of visiting a place with some formality, Air bought some clothes. She mainly bought pants instead of skirts, considering how easy they were to move in. But what caught Wataru's eye were the shorts. They showed off her slim, shapely legs and were very attractive. Her smooth, shiny skin shone even in the indoor light. The problem was the jacket. Because of her overly large breasts, which could be called explosive breasts, unless the material is stretchy or the waist is tied with a string or something, she looks like she's overweight. It's also unbalanced that she only wears clothes that show her cleavage. The material itself is more expensive than the decoration, such as the use of monster materials. Sandy advised him that it would be better to have clothes custom-made rather than ready-made. He will probably spend money on that in the future. Air asked for a bracelet and a ribbon as accessories, saying that they would make her senses more acute. When she ties her long, waist-length hair into a ponytail with the ribbon, she looks more dignified than cute. If some weird guy comes, I'll hit him in the face with this. I'm counting on you. Well, it would be best if nothing happened. Yes. Master has a habit of going to dangerous places without a care in the world, so be careful. What, do I look like that? As a bag, they bought a backpack-type bag like the ones used by adventurers. It had a fairly large capacity and a lot of places to put things. It was strong, lightweight, rainproof, and of higher quality than most products available in Japan. As I thought, Japan isn't always better than other countries. If I buy something without looking into it, I'll probably make a mistake. Wataru did some shopping himself. The thing that made him the happiest was a summer sweater-like garment called a cool feathers garment that he could wear, and it would help cool him down. It kept his body temperature down naturally and was perfect for the hot and humid Japanese summer climate. It was a common piece of technology here, and he could buy it for 5 silver coins. It was simple but stylish, and it didn't make him feel too cold. In Japanese currency, it would be close to 500,000 yen, but of course, except for food and other items, the basic products here are handmade by craftsmen, so they are more expensive. Considering this, it could be said that it was a good buy. After they happily finished shopping, it was time to leave the store, and William came to see them off. "Thank you for your business today, William-san. I used quite a bit of the money from the sugar you bought." "Thank you for your purchase. Please come back anytime." "That's right. There are still a lot of things I want to buy, so I'll be back." Watru smiled naturally from the excitement of shopping. But William seemed a little strange. "I know this is none of my business, but I want to tell you something." "What is it?" "Can you please send the others out of the room for a moment?" "Okay." Watru listened intently, although he was a bit curious because William's expression was very serious. The thoroughness of William's actions, sending away Watru's slaves, Mariel and Heir, and not allowing his wife or employees to approach, was no half measure. William leaned in close and lowered his voice, careful not to be overheard by those nearby, even through the walls, and then spoke. "If the sugar trade spreads in the capital, the nobles will take an interest and try to find out where it comes from. We won't do anything to expose our important supplier, but you can't put a cork in people's mouths. Eventually, word will get out." "Does that mean I'm in danger?" "It's only a potential risk, but it's possible. There's no guarantee that greedy nobles who want to get their hands on the profits or merchants who have already sold sugar won't try to harm you, Watru-sama." What should I do?" "Well, the first thing is to hurry and give your bodyguard weapons. Also, try to avoid suspicious places. When you meet people, choose places where there are a lot of people, and don't accept invitations to private places carelessly." "I see." "Also, I think it would be a good idea to get the backing of someone you can trust. Someone with more influence than someone like me." "I don't know anyone like that." "I'm sure you have valuable things to offer, not just sugar. You may become friends with someone in the future, not just now. If that happens, you should consult with me." "I understand. Thank you for your kindness." "No problem. You're a valuable supplier, and I benefit from our relationship as well." "Well, thank you for your visit today, Watru-sama. I look forward to your next visit." After a smug wink, William's voice echoes through the shop as if to change the atmosphere. Watru leaves the shop, still smiling wryly at the unusual greeting but grateful for the kind advice. Mariel and Heir came over to Watru when they finished their consultation. Watru had a calm expression on his face as if to say he had no particular worries. "Hey, can you hold this? I can't carry all this by myself." "Yes. Thank you for buying so much for us." "Thank you, Master. I love it." "Wow, it really feels good to go on a shopping spree like this. This is the first time I've been able to shop without worrying about how much money I have left." He was not born into a wealthy family and had not achieved much success in life. He had never known how much fun it was to spend money without having to constantly calculate how much he was spending in the back of his mind. He stuffed Heir's bag with things, and it bulged. Heir nonchalantly put it on her back and started walking. At her waist was a wooden sword she had received as a bonus. "Heir looks happy, too." "Yeah, it's a little comfort to have it on my hip." "I'll get your weapon back for you, so just wait a little." "I believe you." "Okay, then. We've done the shopping, so let's go home. Then we'll talk to Maso-san tomorrow." "Understood." "Nah haha, I'm looking forward to it." The three of them loaded the bags with the things they had bought and made their way home. This time, Watru still had enough money to live in luxury for a while.